this needs some reflected light though. Yeah, okay, that was looking a little bit too much the same. This, I do like the blue there, so I might still have to try and reflect a little bit of the purple in that, maybe. I'm going to take some of this white, mix it with my Terra Rosa, and we're just going to throw a couple of that right there, and now we'll just take get another brush. Smooth that out. You can see, look, there's just like some hairs of that brush sticking out all over the place, but yet it does a pretty good job for kind of scumbling that and blending out that color. Now there's other areas here that need that sort of lighter gold treatment. So we're going to take the white there, the titanium white with the faux cadmium, gives a little bit more opacity. Can you see what's going on? Yes, you can. And this is what I mean, where it is definitely possible to get some fine details out of your oil paints here, because they're just so thin. Oil is thinner than water, and we can make it even thinner and even thinner. Not so that it's to the point where it's all watery. Then it is just going to run all over the place. You don't want that. As long as people see immortal, then I am immortal. Is it almost like the one guy who was he was invisible as long as people didn't look at him? I think there was some kind of a superhero or something like that in one of those, like a movie from the 90s or something. Might have been Mystery Men. But he was invisible as long as no one looked at him. And we got Steiner in the house. So folks, be sure to give Steiner a follow. Yes, you want to. You know you do. So Steiner, how's things been going? Hopefully you've been having some fun and getting all kinds of stuff done. Now we're going to get a lighter edge on top of this belt or whatever that is. Again, see a nice long smooth stroke there with the oils. I have to get something going on her feet too. I'm just noticing that. We did our darker glaze there, so
say we all.
Oh, there we go. We have a gifted sub. Steiner now has the sub. Thank you so much, Armored Wolf. And folks, be sure to check out the Armored Wolf Etsy page, because as you heard earlier, there are new dice bags being worked on, and we definitely want to support Armored Wolf, because there is just some serious art that's happening with those bags. It's almost crazy to think that there's dice in those bags, because the bag itself looks more like a sculpture. Well, it really is, because you've got metal added to it. Oh, the Night Lord's bag. That's hopefully people can see that night, unless that's the one that you're taking or posting the pictures of now. But yeah, that Night Lord's bag. That was some amazing stuff going on with that one. Ooh, let's get some magenta in here. Yeah, let's do that. We haven't put any magenta up here. That could be interesting. Yeah. So we're just going to sneak a little bit of magenta up there. And we're going to let that kind of blend in with what's going on here. Yeah, that's good. Then we have some skin tone that also needs to be moved around here. That lip there, maybe more the indigo as a potential shadow on it. Night Lord's bag is all done. Because I remember you sent me the pictures of that just the other day. I think it was when all the streaming was going on. Yeah. Let's see if we can't get some darker blue underneath there. Yes, that's better. Now we need to do the same thing on the upper lip if we can. Then I also have to see if we want to do we want to make some kind of glowing eyes on our snakes? Not sure. We can just play around here real quick, especially just on this guy here. Let's see. Okay, these guys, and that's all mostly our initial glaze there, and that is nice and it's not dry. I mean, we could wipe all that stuff away if we wanted to. It's just, it's drier, it's dry-ish, dry enough to work on. You can add a little bit of light here. Let's get some more lights into her face, I think. There we go. Check out the Instagram of that amazing, and that's all. You got the painting going on there. You have the tooling in the bag. You've got the stitching, all that stuff. That is not, there's not a machine doing all that stuff. Well, the only machine is the human. And the only machinery is the fingers and the hand tools. That's all there is. So I'm trying to make sure that I get some of that cadmium yellow light in here, so it just doesn't, it somehow keeps it almost a bit of a greenish touch. Do we get this? Yeah, we'll get a little bit of the lighter color here. Now, what do we want to do here with the eyes? You know, I am seeing, where's that fluorescent green? Let's maybe play with that. So this is the Marion Street fluorescent green. Let's see. Steele had just noticed that the stream title says miniatures. Already paint. Let's see. Artisan Guild Medusa. Well, I was thinking about maybe painting this one too, because you know how I like to have more than one thing going at a time. I don't know how much time I'll have to get onto that second one. So we might get to that second one. So that's probably, if I did type miniatures, that might be why. So I'm just getting a little bit of the fluorescent green into here, because I saw that on one of my references here. It's kind of an off-screen reference. You don't really see it. What the heck? Gonna play over here with the little touch of that onto her face, onto that snake there. Just trying to think, what do we want that to be darker? What would we like that to be? Taking some of that cadmium yellow light here to mix it with that green. Maybe that is a possibility here, making that a little bit lighter. Looks like this one's big enough for you, not having to paint multiple ones at a time. It's the biggest reason sometimes just to have more than one is where I like to let the paint just kind of have a chance to sit there for a while. Because ideally, I'm not working on one at a time. Ideally, I am working on 5, 6, 7, 8 of them all at one time. But sometimes for something like this, if I do have this one, it's a little bit easier then to go back when it comes time for a YouTube thing and actually just make a single lesson out of it instead of having to extract a bunch of separate miniatures. There we go. I think, yes, we're going to get a little bit lighter here too. I'm going to get some purple into this. And we need just a little something different there. Maybe get some of that over here too. See, I almost have a little bit of a magenta getting into the skin tone there. Oh, thanks, Palos. It's something I was really looking forward to doing on this one because I ended up doing a lot of the kind of the typical human skin tones. So getting a chance to do something a little different, that's really cool.
Who enters my domain?
Oh, look at this. Boy, it's been a couple of weeks, but we get to welcome tabletop minions into the stream.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Zip Zap Rap, thank you so much for the follow. As I see VJ Morph and Ham Dangus. Welcome in, VJ Morph, and all of you raiders.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Hey, Y2As, thanks for the follow. And Ganj the Unjust. Well, that is, how appropriate is that? That's like another one of those super appropriate screen
Hello,
names.
little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Thank you so much, old lordy, for the follow. That is appreciated. Now, for all the folks that are coming in, we are working on an Artisan Guild miniature.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Oh, Lily Houndoom. This is the Medusa here from Artisan Guild.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
With the rarely featured products like the Reaper liners. We love our Reaper liners here, you know that. So this is a typical, more 28 millimeter sized. It's also from Artisan Guild. But this they printed this out for me at 72. Well, actually now I can print my own. Yes, because I have a 3D printer. Now this one, speaking of the Reaper Clear and Liner paints, this one was painted with the Reaper Clear and Liners and contrast paints.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Oh, thanks, Lily, for the follow. It's appreciated. Now we're painting this in oils, and we're gonna kind of go over the oils and the kind of stuff that we can do with these. Oh, thanks, VJ Morph. Yeah, now we're featuring a couple of the newer colors that I got from here. Let's not my indigo. Where's my there it is. So this is one of my new oil colors that I got. It's Egyptian Violet. It's from Williamsburg.
Little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Oh, thanks, Tabletop. Now, if you want to see that purple used even a little bit more, this was done over the weekend, so this is 20 hours of streaming. This was Friday and Saturday. This is the new Creature Caster King of Malefica here. And this was all done wet into wet, just like we're doing on this lady here. The entire thing. This was nothing but primer when we started. And, I mean, he has 1 or 2 eyeballs on him, and maybe a few teeth. You know, just a couple. He might have 1 or 2 light sources on him as well. It's like find the teeth, find the light source, find the crazy holes in him and everything. Oh, thanks, Sakaya. Oh, and Zero the Hero. Thank you so much. Oh, and Fix My Code. Oh, and Aranost. Thank you so much. So yeah, you can go back and watch this from start to finish.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Thank you, David Moffat, for the follow. It is appreciated. And now it doesn't always have to be large-scale things. So speaking of Reaper miniatures, here's a Reaper Bones. We have one of our Sisters of Battle here. So oils work for all kinds of fun things. Now, if you're wondering what she's going to be standing on, this is her base. So this is using the Green Stuff World texture rollers, some skulls. That's actually from Gamer's Grass. More Green Stuff World Warlord foliage. I think that's a Cybor head there. I have a GW skull over there. So we have a kind of a mix of different things. And she will be, so she's going to grace our base just like so. Oh, Bob the Ogre. So you're liking the oils? I mean, I absolutely love the oils. Oh, thanks, Fix My Code. It's appreciated. So what we're basically doing is we take an oil paint like this, or for folks that want to go more economic, you can even take the student grade Wintons, or there's several different sets like that. We mix them with a odorless thinner like this. Is a high quality one.
Little hobbits, spark my ganja.
And we get into a nice little container like this with a, hear that? That's just basically some scraps of pewter as we welcome in Fistful of Thunder. Hey, Kaz. Well, thank you so much for the subscription. It is appreciated. So all of this is wet into wet. Now let's zoom back in here. Let's get a little bit zoomed in. Do we zoom in close? Let's get a little closer. Let's get even a little bit closer. And we've just been taking advantage of all of the blendness. So here we'll smooth this out a bit. So you see that brush stroke where you can see a very clear brush stroke right here. Well, we put that on there a little while ago. And look what's going to happen. So we can take that brush stroke away.
Hello, little hobbits, spark my ganja.
Thank you. Oh, thanks for the follow. Fix My Code. I'm going to get back to my screen so I can actually see the alerts. Let's see how that, all of a sudden, that gets very much smoother. But there's another aspect to this. So we want to see this green that's in here. Well, what are we going to do? We're going to do something like this. Let's get some green into her skin tones.
Hello, little hobbits, spark my ganja.
Thank you so much for the follow, Lone Tie. Now, look, we got a nasty old brush stroke right there. We're going to take ourselves a blending brush. Look what's going to happen. Look at that. This is the fun thing about this, because we got so many folks in here that have been trying out the oils. Oh yeah, Sakaya, that is, we did that Friday and Saturday, and that should definitely be a VOD. Now, some of my sessions, they also are kind of, I kind of reformat them a little bit, put them onto YouTube with some pictures, some of the finished pictures. But now that I know you can make, like those things will be just 20 hours of VODs now, because I realized that you can make a highlight as long as you want, and it stays there forever. So those will be, they will always be there forever and ever for people to watch, as long as they let highlights stay up there. Speaking of highlights, we're getting some reflected light. It's reflected light that is also green. Look at this. You can see. So instead of trying to mix a bunch of colors on the palette, whatever it's, no, we're not mixing anything. We're just going to let it mix. This becomes your palette. The figure becomes your palette. Let me see. 15. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Whenever we work with oils, does it dry normally? It does. Now, the caveat is, I work with way less paint. The less paint you work with, the easier it is to actually move the paint around, and the faster it will dry. It dries almost. It does take, like this thing, 12 hours from now, it should be almost completely dry. Like dry to the point where I can put, and this is the same stuff I use.
Little hobbits, spark my ganja.
Oh, thanks, Merca, for the follow. This is the same stuff I put on my acrylic miniatures. Once it's dry, I just give that little bit of a seal, a little bit of a varnish. And here is another recent unit that we did. I'm just going to put this off to the side. So this is another stream that I did here. We painted all of the horsies. All in one stream. I do believe is about a 9-hour stream. And you could look at all the, look at that. bluish in his face. Look at the pinks and the greens. This took actually less time to dry than this one because I used actually less paint on that one than I did in this one. So every time I paint, I learn to use less and less and less paint. Let's see. The Merlin a minute. Thanks, Numbskull. Let's see. The region I'm living in is very humid. It takes 2 to 3 days to dry. Okay. Oh, now here we go, folks. Oh, hey Thistle, how are you doing? I need to head out for bed. Well, Ford, I wish you luck with the stones. Do you airbrush or your anti-shine on? This is just a brush on. I don't know if you could put this. You might be able to put this through the airbrush. I just brush it on because it goes exactly where I need it to. So let us do film noir. What do we mean by film noir? So we're going to make this black and white. You can see we have tons of shading and value here, right? But let's emphasize some difference. Now, you're not going to, all you're going to see this is get to be a little bit lighter. Now, see what it starts as. So we got a little bit of our magenta there. What we're going to do is actually grab, so I'm going to throw some phthalo blue out here. There we go. Now watch what happens. I'm going to get our brush cleaned out here. So watch what happens in some of these areas
Hello,
here.
little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Thank you so much for the follow. Is that Finrod Silver? Now you're going to see a bit of a value change here. And that's going to happen right here. So see how it, okay, it's getting, actually you're not seeing any value change. Okay. It looks like it looks like I did nothing. Looks like I did absolutely nothing there. This looks like I did absolutely nothing. This is probably going to look like I did absolutely nothing back here too. And here. Just a couple of quick colors. Looks like I did nothing, right? Now I'm going to bring back our color. And you tell me if that doesn't look a little bit different. Look what that phthalo blue just did. No difference in value. It's not any lighter. It's not any darker. That's your color contrast right there. And as Numbskull says, film noir, it adds value. Let's see. I know it's okay to use enamel acrylic.
Spark my ganja.
Let's see. Murky Murk. This one right here. This one I painted about half of it in oils on the 4th of July. I had to stop because the fireworks here got way too crazy. And it dried, and I had to mail it out the next day, like within hours. 6 hours after I was going to have to ship it, put it in a box and ship it, so oils were out of the question. All of the skulls, the horns, maybe a little bit of the metals, that was all done with acrylics over the top of dried oil paints. And you can see, look at what I was able to do with the acrylics. So it is very much possible. As long as it's dry, that's all that matters. As long as it's dry. Nothing else matters after that. You know what I want to play with here? This could be fun. I just want to have some fun with something here and see if this actually works. It was something I usually do more on a Celtic theme type of a deal, but let's just see if that might be fun here. I'm just going to see if I'm caught up on the chat. No problem, Aaronost. I think, oh. Yeah, that's, yeah, let's try something here. A little bit of something fun with a bit of freehand. This is all wet oil paints, by the way, over wet oil paints, because you can do that. We're just going to get ourselves a little bit of a pattern going here. And it now does have to be thinned down, that's for sure. We want this to be thinned down. And I'll let this stand like so. We have to work this pattern in here. Something subtle. Something fun, just to give that a little bit more than just the plain old fabric look. This is what makes oil so much fun to use. Let's get a little maybe of our magenta in there. Let's take away some of that excess here. Let's get some more, maybe on this side now. Give this a little bit of our sweep. Get some of our light color. Now this is the thing with the oils, when you're working wet into wet like this, you are going to want to constantly go back in there, refresh that brush like you do. And I don't mind that see how that's just naturally kind of fading out there? That means we won't have freehand that just stands out way too much, draws too much attention. And if we feel like it, can even mute this just a bit more. Look at this. Look what's happening here. See this here? Well, that's kind of some harder lines. Well, guess what just happened? See how we muted those lines just a little bit? Can do that over here too. Yep. We'll do some of that right into here. So all of a sudden, a little bit of freehand that just gets toned. It's just a little bit. Doesn't have to be a lot, just a little. Doesn't need to be anything crazy. Let me see. Just got some freehand coming. Hurts my head when he does freehand all just willy-nilly. You don't paint oils. The oils paint you. Well, ask not what you can do for your oils, but what your oils can do for you. And I'm not kidding when I say that I try to go back to acrylics and do stuff like this in acrylics, and it's actually way more difficult. It's way more difficult. Here, let's get our little hook into this. Continue our pattern here. It doesn't have to be all over the place. It can just be in a few spots, and maybe we change this into a little bit of a spiral here. It's also, again, it is muted. Very important to keep that muted. Just a little something. Just throw it on there. Who cares? Let's see. So is it the anti-shine that moots the gloss? As it dries, you lose all of the gloss, because this guy right here, that was every bit as glossy as this was. And you can see the gloss just kind of goes away as it dries. I mean, just imagine that you're looking at something painted in acrylics and you're looking at it a second after it's been painted. That lasts for just a while longer. So again, this is another one, and actually you can watch this one on YouTube here. So this one looked very glossy, but you can see now it has dried, and actually I haven't even put the anti-shine on this, and it's definitely no gloss on here. We'll just here. Let's take our blending brush again. And we're just gonna look at this. Look what we can do. Now we're gonna get some circulation in here. So again, very simple. Let's keep it simple. Now we also were wanting to figure out Let's see. Oh, no problem, Aranost.
So
Hey, we
say
got
we
Bilbo's
all.
brush. And thank you. Thanks for the subs. Thank you so much. We got some gifted subs out here. So let's see. How do I strip off dried oil paint if I'm not happy with the paint job on the minis? Well, I would actually suggest instead of stripping off the paint, because the only we've been painting miniatures for 20 years here, and the only time we've ever stripped any miniature is if it was like an eBay rescue and it was just had super glue all over it and nasty stuff. I would really suggest either use the oil paints as like an underpainting, or you could just prime right over them, because I'm sure you were careful enough that you don't have, you're not painting out the details, obviously. So I would actually suggest that instead of trying to strip them off, because again, we just don't strip any paint. That's just not something we do. We just say, you know what, I don't like that. I'll either prime over it again, or I'll just paint over it. Oh, hey Thistle, you got yourself a sub now. You done got yourself a sub. I am going to get a little bit of my, yeah, some of my lighter red there, or my Terra Rosa. Let's get some of this snake here. We'll maybe make kind of a diamondback design on that guy. I am still thinking about some sort of snake sort of texture on the face there. Let me see if I can find the reference in question here. And it was just kind of a neat thing. Okay. I have no idea if this is going to work or not. We'll find out. That makes sense. Yeah, just prime over it, because, well, the primer's going to stick to everything. Now, there's a little bit of Van Dyke Brown here. I do need to get some cracks painted here in his face, because, well, stone. And, oh, here we go. So this is another one. Yeah, this is up on the YouTube channel now. You can see how fine that you can get with the little spidery thing, because that's what oils. It's thinner than water, so you can most definitely get those nice spidery little motions like that. Let's give her some darker nails here. I mean, it is a Medusa after all. It should have darker nails. Here, let's do these fingers too while we're thinking about it. I mean, it almost wouldn't be a Medusa without the whole dark fingernail thing going on. And this is the other thing that you can do with the oil. Now, for the folks that are new here and you've never seen this, let's go to our, here it is. So this was also painted in oils. This was half the size of a human head. This is from Blackheart Models. That is the Caracolila bust. Cerulean blue, phthalo green. That was their first experiment with fluorescent paints. Yes, there are fluorescent oil paints. And as you can imagine, the oils were kind of handy for blending on that. They were just a little bit handy. What I want to see here, this will be a bit of a test. I'm going to take our Van Dyke Brown here. We really got to thin this down. And I want to try and do, let's see. So this will ask, so we haven't seen the Adepticon coming out of retirement and doing 500 points of Astra Militarium. Well, geez, they're never too young to help you assemble miniatures. That's for sure. Yeah, they have small hands. Those are really good for getting mold lines and all those tiny pieces. Bilbo's brush, but Cobalt. Oh, the deep hue. You're gonna have to let me know what happens with that, because that sounds very intriguing. So Joe, did you take him? Is he hopefully excited about that whole process of doing the painting and everything? Bill, I think that could be really neat for the sky portion of the NMM. I think so. Yeah, I can't wait to see what you do with that, because I'm sure it's probably almost closer to phthalo blue as far as how dark it is. All right, well, so we've got our skin tone. Do I want to play around with doing some kind of a snakeskin texture on this? And maybe it's just a little bit of minimal stuff. I don't know. I'm going to see if I can do something here. Which way should it go? Maybe it'll go this way. So we're just going to see if we can maybe paint some snake scales onto this. Like this. There we go. And I think, yeah, I think we've got it started now. Pattern had to start somewhere. And then if we can fade this out too, that might be fun. How do we extend this out here? How far do we go with this pattern? Don't really know yet. Let's get this, okay, so that went here. Pattern like so. Get ourselves another little V here. We'll just let that kind of fade a bit. Just give an impression of that texture here and there. Let's see, he's 13 now. I'm letting him go on a Black Templar army. I think he likes most of the hobby, but really acts like he doesn't have the patience for the paint. That's interesting. I mean, well, for me, it would be mold lines and assembling things. So that is kind of interesting. I mean, I know which parts of it that I do not like, that's for sure. And mold lines and that sort of thing would most definitely be one of them. Where is yeah, there's another little blending brush thing. I'm just going to blend that away. Yeah, that's just the thing that I did not. I've been at it for 20 years and still never figured out a way to think of assembling figures as being something that was fun. It's usually just something that you kind of dread and hope that you can get over with as fast as possible. Now I think we can get a little more of our snake texture here. But this paint has to be really, really, really thin. As in, like, really thin. And that is more of the liquid thinning variety, basically. Let's see, reddish leather. Geez, you can't go wrong. You can never go wrong with brown matter. That is fantastic. It works for horses. It works for leather. That is basically brown matter cut with anything that is lighter, and you should end up with a really nifty leather color, I think. I think that should work fine. Again, just a little suggestion there of a snake texture, perhaps. Oh, let's go back this way. And maybe do some lighter edges on the faux scale texture here. You could do this dark over it too. Hey, Gridlock Sis. Folks, be sure to give Gridlock Sis a follow. You definitely want to do that. Let's see, Bilbo, I'm with you on the assembly
Hello,
thing.
little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
There are some folks that say, gee, Jim, you only do miniatures just so that you can make bases. Oh, thanks, Lunar Magi. That's a lot. They'll just say, Jim, you only paint miniatures just so that you can make bases. That is the only reason you do that. So I'm just putting some highlights on my fake snakeskin texture here. That's it, just a few here and there. Let it be subtle. Take that blending brush. Let's see how we can fade that out. And we can do this in a few other areas here, just to, again, now I think to me, you start to get a little more interest in maybe your skin there. Besides just, I mean, it's neat to have those colors and all. That's cool. But to me, this kind of added a little something more. I just bought that yesterday with the cobalt. Gray plastic motivator. It's still unpainted till it gets pastel bombed. I'm going to get a little more of my snake skin texture back this way. But now I got to have it go in the opposite direction. That's going to be interesting. Again, got to get rid of the excess there. And let's see if we can't.
Little hobbits, spark my ganja.
Thank you so much. I would say maybe a haunted plush. Is that why all of the plushy animals look at you in a very eerie fashion, because they're haunted?
Hello, little hobbits, spark my ganja.
Thank you so much, Peeve Diddy, for the follow. That is appreciated. Gandalf appreciates it too. Now we're gonna, this is going to be real interesting here. How do we approach this and get that same snakeskin texture? Maybe we'll go the opposite way. And if we don't like it, well, guess what? We done got ourselves a blending brush. That's what it's there for. All goes away. I think it's better off having an origin point here. That makes way more sense. Yeah, that does. Yes, there we go. And as always, I can tone this down with my blending brush if it gets too much. If it's too noticeable, like we did with our other freehand design. And this is where it's kind of helpful, actually, that it basically mixes with what's already there. Because by default, it's kind of just toning it down. Where's Mr. Blending Brush again? Can just take some of that away. It's just a hint of it, that's all. What is it? It's almost like some kind of a song. Just blending it away. Now let's see what we can do up here on their forehead. Just divide it up this way here. Okay, I'm checking out one of my references here that's got some snake skin on it. And we'll do this diamond shaped piece here. And then push the rest of this out this way. Yeah, so now not so much of just regular old skin there. We want to do a coral snake on this. That means we need to get some black stripes onto that. Also need to get some lighter colors on our toes, which may take the form of some green here. I think a lot of the paint just kind of has been getting wiped away by my finger. Yeah, that's a little nicer there. All of a sudden we were running short on some lighter tones there. Oh, let's see what we have. Let's see, after watching you the last 2 weeks, I really want to try my hand at oils, but I think I need to break out the acrylics. Now, believe it or not, I have been, well, let's see, my French, World War II, and gosh, actually almost every one of my armies now, people just, they can't tell the difference between what's oils, and it's in the same army too. Well, here we go. I mean, we've got, where did it go? Ah, here we go. So here are, so 2 ring rates. And actually this one's not quite done yet, but one is painted in oils and one is painted in acrylics. And you can see they look, I mean, super similar enough. So it's, yeah, people really wouldn't be able to tell one way or another. Now, for you, it might be a little bit more difficult because you're starting out, and obviously, now oil colors, as you've heard me talk, they are different, as in like indigo blue is really different consistency-wise and opacity-wise than another type of blue and all that other kind of stuff. So you got to be ready for that. Oh, yep, Aranost, everything is primed just like normal. It's the same Badger Stynylrez primer that I use. If I was painting this in acrylics or oils, it doesn't matter. It's the same primer. And it works like a charm. Let's get some of this snake skin texture on here, like we did on the other side. And as the oils mix together, you can see it starts to get a little bit more faded, as it goes a little bit further down. And then we can just take that blending brush and make it even more muted. Let's see, even the glaive wraith are hard to tell the difference. I'll grab those in a second and we can check those out. Let's see. Oh yeah, do the oils. Do you prime first normal? You have it's and now the thing is too, Aranost, you're definitely going to want, if you don't want to spend a whole bunch of bucks right away, just think about kind of a starter set like this. So You know, there's 10 colors in here. Got this on Amazon for about 26 bucks. Maybe now it's 28, 29 bucks. I've been working on this for 4 years. So you can see there's still plenty left even after 4 years. Now I do sometimes, like as I add new colors like the purple, and we've been talking like people adding the cerulean and other such things. But by then you know what you want. So if you do the starter set, you got enough to at least get underway. Yeah, Bilbo was scared and then pushed on through. Hey, do we have Asmodee in the house? We do. Hi, Asmodee. How are you doing tonight or this morning? For some folks here, it's already morning. Let's do our little highlighty thing here on the side. It's just a little bit of faux snake texture there. Or is it? Let's see, there we go. Got a little bit of our texture work in there. I'm just gonna wipe some of that away. Let's go back in here, see if we can't. This is a good location here. Let's get some of the excess away. And see what we can do with our snakeskin texture over this part. Again, we'll start brushing this in. We have to be aware that every single brush stroke that I do, it's picking up some of the old paint that's there. And it is mixing on the brush, so there's going to be less and less paint there. And it's getting replaced with that lighter color. It's no problem as long as you're aware of it. It's just, you got to be aware of it. And it's obviously going to show up more in your lighter areas over here. Take our blending brush and smooth that out. So let's see, Asmodee, let's see, you create a convert. I was scared to start, but I got the push. Yeah, let's see, I had another example a couple days ago. Yeah, the glaive rates, well, you also have to think. Now, one of the reasons these were different is because I was using fluorescent acrylics on here, and there was no fluorescence here. And I was also trying to make this more of a bluish color, but I mean, you can see the blades are the same. A lot of the things are the same. It's just I didn't have the fluorescent greens yet. So I was working with something a little bit different here. I also didn't have stuff like the phthalo blue to work with here. But in the areas like this, he said that's very much the same. That's the same. The only difference is in here where we were using some very different colors. And that is definitely true, Thistle. It's the nature of the oils that they are way more vibrant. That's kind of how they are. That's why I like them, because they are no doubt about it, more vibrant than just your regular acrylic paints. We're going to have to do a little bit of a sneaky highlight now on our snake skin in a couple of spots here. Don't want to do it too much, but see, I already got to go back and get more. It's already, look at that. Look at how dirty that brush was after just a few brush strokes. Now that's going to be too much. I had to take some of it away. There we go. Let's see that now. It's starting to just look at that. It gives us that hint of a snake skin. Do some of that here. Let's make it even lighter here. Now, let's see. If you're trying to paint NMM and you're using acrylics, you're a glutton for punishment. The NMM makes everything is easier with the oils. Everything is easier. Now I will show you, especially for the folks that are new here. So this is my latest army painting series. Let's go to my, there we go. So I just finished this. This was, I think it was 13 different figures. Those were done in oils. And all the object source lighting, all the non-metallic metal, the freehand, everything was done in oils. And it was so much easier. Oh my gosh, getting all those greens to blend in, the robes, all that kind of stuff. That was so much easier with the oils. So that is my latest Patreon series right there. And we're trying to get the Ossiarchs ready, the Necrons ready for a new Patreon series. Yeah, I think I can get some of my lighter highlights now on these this part of her sandals here. There we are. Let's work our way into here. Let's get a little light there on the end of her toes, just because. Yeah, we'll bring our blending brush back in there to hit those areas too. Getting a couple of edge lights here. Which I don't want to do too much there, just in case I hit it with my finger or something like that. Let's see, heck, you almost have 500 points.
Spark my ganja.
Well, I have I don't know how much is in the box as a whole. But there will be more, and thank you so much for the follow, Ricardo.
Who enters my domain?
I hear the distinct sound of a raid. Look at, oh, it's Brushcraft. Folks, let's welcome in Brushcraft. Thank you so much for the raid. Oh, let's get some highlights up here. And also a fellow oil painter. So gotta show Brushcraft the love. So were you doing, I assume you were using oils again. Because, I mean, hello, hashtag oils. We all love our oils. And I hope that you were having a lot of fun. Was this a continuation stream on a previous project? Or was it a stream on something new? Now we're just going to, again, we're going to take this. So we just fade that out. Just fading out our freehand here. Now let's get some, this will be kind of tricky here, again, because we don't want to be sticking our hand into stuff that's already been painted. Let's see if we can do this. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Brushcraft. So Ecto, I haven't used any AK acrylics at all. I used the Aptalung 502s the one time. I'll try using those again, just to play around with them. But I don't see myself ever using those Gen 3s. Now, there's a couple of folks that really like them. Drax was really loving those. I mean, that's like his favorite new thing, are those. I do love them, and they're on the docket for tomorrow. Oh, that's the other thing, folks. There's a bunch of streamers here amongst us that, well, we love our 2D art. I don't know when I'll get the chance to do my 2D art again. That might have to wait until another time. There, that's a little better. So Drax really likes those. Who else has been? A couple other folks have been using those, and they really do seem to like them. I don't know. if there's tons and tons of colors there. But if you've used those or anything like that, you can let me know if you like those. Like I said, for me, I'm kind of trimming down on my acrylic paints. Now I'm basically pretty much down to the Reaper clear and liner paints again, as far as acrylic paint goes. Especially since the oils really have just kind of taken over. But I have used the, what is that? I still use the contrast paints, the way that in that sort of mixing them with the opaque paints fashion, the lighter opaques. I just want to see, so we've got that texture on her head there. I'd like to have that also on her shoulder here, if I can. We'll see if we can do that. We'll start up here like we've done before. Trying to get that scale texture. It has to be enough liquid to make it flow, but it can't be so much liquid that it's just going to run all over the place like one of those pin line washes. And in effect, it is sort of like a little bit of a diamond-shaped tic-tac-toe board. And we'll run these into a few areas, and then we're going to take our blending brush and we will blend some of this away so that it is not too pronounced. Look at that. We don't destroy it. It's not wiped away completely, but it is more muted now. Definitely more muted. We'll go back with our lighter color here. And just lighten a few of these edges. What's fun is that when I do it, see, further down here, I don't necessarily have to draw in the darker stuff. I can actually use the highlight. Look at this. See how we're actually like almost getting the impression of some more scales over there just by painting the light, and we didn't actually kind of outline the whole darker pattern in there. Yeah, let's get rid of some of that. Oh, so did you have a chance to, I haven't had a chance to send any messages to Hank about doing some kind of Zoom painting thing for the group or something like that, if people just kind of want to hang out and do that together. I mean, I know that the last meeting was a Zoom meeting. All right, there we go. See, look at that nice little soft faded. We can fade it out even more with this brush there. We'll do that here too. We'll start out with our darker stuff. Now let's see, from the back, those snakes look a little suggestive. Oh, a pigeon in the house. Yeah, there is a, they have a distinct jawline. They definitely have a jawline, so to speak. Now let's do our same texture again. We have this thinned down enough so that it flows. We can only do a couple of brush strokes before we got to go back, get more. Get some of that fresh paint in here. Just depends on how much of this I want to put in, and I will definitely go back and just fade this out a little bit. So again, just diamond patterns here, keeping it simple. Here, here, And now we're going to start to let that sort of fade away. Not as pronounced anymore. Where's Mr. Blending Brush? Now let's use this one. And it's kind of a tapping motion. It's not so much of a this, it's more of a tap, like a stippling motion here. I can see how just look at it, just fades that down. Let's see, I'll probably will get a hold of him this weekend. No, that would be for actually an Adepticon staff meeting. Now for ReaperCon Live, Kaz, I'm going to be streaming. And, well, Kathy's going to be streaming too, but I will be streaming Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Now, when Kathy is streaming, that'll be in the evening. That's pretty much going to be my stream times, except maybe for, say, Saturday and maybe Monday. I'll be streaming during the day, but during ReaperCon, so be sure to follow so that you get the notice when that is all going to happen, because I've been prepping Reaper figures for 4 days now, just to start getting ready for that. There's obviously going to be plenty of oil painting going on. I mean, just like last year's ReaperCon. But that is the plan. I think that's like from the 2nd till the 7th or something crazy like that. And I will be streaming for as long as I can on all of those days. That's gonna be nuts. That will be a challenge to make it through. But then that's kind of how a ReaperCon usually goes. So there we go. More of our little snake texture there. I might even carry this a bit further just with my lights. There. Where's my blending brush again? Let's fade this out here. Make that as subtle as we can. Now only see one show for ReaperCon. Well, there could either be miscommunication or something like that, but I was talking with Ed himself, and he knows that it is the entire weekend. I think they just, because there's no specific like exact times when it's going to start, he just knows that it's going to be as long as I can stream. And it will pretty much most of the time it will start in the evenings, because I got to wait till after Kathy is done with her stuff. And I'm kind of not surprised that they only just called it that and not several listings of it, because at the convention itself it is basically almost a 24-hour-a-day thing. I'm going to see if I can't get some more of my scale texture on here. Can you see that? I think so. I know it might be a little bit weird on the focus side of things. And it's also interesting painting on one of these little... It's been a while since I last painted on a dowel rod. Like a long time. I'm going to fade this out like we've done before. We'll go back in with our lights again. And this is where I can kind of extend out this texture a little bit further without having to outline it with the darker stuff. By virtue of just those few lighter highlights. Here, let's get some more of our titanium white into this. We'll get that nice and thin. I think I can stick my hand right here because, well, that snakehead's not really painted very much. And I can always redo that snakehead if need be. I might just back out here one. There, might be a little bit easier for folks to see that, or at least keep it on screen. I don't think I want to, yeah, I don't want. I was thinking of putting some more of that down here. Not going to do that. I think we're also going to get some of our, some more darks in here. We need to get some separation in that. Either darks, or lights, or a color change, something. We'll start off with a couple of darks in here. Like this. Then let's do some color changing. Let's see, one step away for a few minutes and it looks completely different. Oh, thanks. The scales have definitely been really fun to add. I'm gonna make sure I've got some decent focus for you guys here. Here, let's I think we are good on our focus there. Maybe we'll do some more sneaky freehand as well. But for now, we need to get to our cloth here. We don't want to get bogged down only into one area. So let's do some stuff on our cloth here. All the paint's nice and wet. We can certainly, look at that. Plenty of room for blending. But it's minimal amounts of paint. I cannot stress less paint on the brush. If you have too much paint on that brush, you're just going to end up, you'll end up in trouble. I think one of the reasons why they didn't, another reason they didn't list this for a bunch of different times is, well, like I said, there is no finite, like they will stream from this time to this time. It's really more like, well, he's going to be streaming all the time. Now, hopefully they will be raiding into us or something like that to also help bring the audience this way. Otherwise, we'll just be having our own private ReaperCon here. There's still, fortunately, a few weeks left to kind of hammer out some of those things. Now, I think this is another area where we might go in with some of our little bit of freehand. Again, got that thinned down real nice. Maybe we'll go this way with it. Keeping it very simple here. Sometimes with the most simple basic shapes you can do what looks like a really intricate freehand when it's actually really not. Let's get a little bit more of a long flowing brush stroke here, and let's say something like that. We go, you know what? I don't like any of that. Oh look, it's gone. I want to do something else. I'm going to try a different tack here and see what this looks like. I want to go actually darker here and see if I like that more. To put dark where it's lighter and light where it is darker. That would be a kind of a difficult thing. That would be a difficult maneuver to do with acrylics right there, wouldn't it? Like here, okay. I like the idea. but I need to make that lighter. So we'll make it lighter there. Let's just get a little bit of our, like that. Our blending brush again. And then we'll go back with our dark again. First, let me hit that right over there. Okay, see we had a little bit of a, yeah, from a previous, the thistle, let's see, FY bold. Oh, well, that's good to know. I'm assuming they are still not in the top 8. I assume they're in that dreaded 9th or 10th or something like that. I assume that the Eagles are still, they're in the 8. I guess as long as you're in the 8, you can do something. You can't do anything if you're not in the 8. I suppose the question is Carlton still at the bottom of the ladder? That's my question. Because they've been there for how many years now?
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Thank you so much for the follow. Let me see. I gotta use my screen to see. That is a ray of sunshine. Now there is that. That is a surefire clever name right there. That is quite clever. And thanks again for the follow. Gandalf appreciates it too. Yeah, see, I'll do maybe the same thing up here too. But how many times did we kind of just wipe that out and say, nah, do it again, go, eh. Did it again and went, ah, okay. It's all good. Let's try some of that over here too. Just a couple of darker lines. It doesn't even have to be a complete pattern. It's just an indication of something there. I'm even going to use that as a dark on some of my golds over here. Like that. Let me see. So 10th and even 4. Oh, and the top 4.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Oh, thank you, Puke Wolves, for the follow. That is appreciated. The captain will be happy that St. Kilda is 5th. Holy smokes. Oh, Hawthorne is 16th. Oh, thanks again, Ray. It's appreciated. I hope I hope you can catch the beginning of this, just kind of watch it VOD style, because it was it's been pretty fun painting up this Artisan Guild right here. We were doing the kind of our fake little skin texture on that. So Hawthorne in 16th. That's yikes. Well, they seem to, I don't know, I think that fall might be more of a permanent thing for them, or at least it's going to last a while. I'm just getting some more darks in here too, and the snakes up there. I'm going to get a couple of more darks here. And yeah, this is a really fun, fantastic Artisan Guild miniature. I enjoy these, and I tell them all the time, it's an open canvas. Because there's not all kinds of stuff sculpted all over the place, it gives me more of a chance to actually just do my own stuff. Be sure to check it out. What type of paints am I using? So these are actually oil paints, and what I've done is, now this is more the starter set here from Winsor Newton, and then you got some more high grade paints here from Winsor Newton. And we also have some of the Gamblin and some of the Williamsburg. And I have mixed those with a odorless, high quality odorless paint thinner like so. And then I just have thrown these in some little jars here with a, you can hear that agitated, just a little piece of pewter. And that's what you see out on the palette here. And that is really, that's been my kind of medium of choice for quite a while now, is the oil paints, because you can just do so much with those. Here, let's get a little bit of that paint off of here. Get some of our lights. Maybe even get a little bit of this into this guy here, so it's not all just that blue. Hopefully that's going to be on screen for you guys. I think it is, yep. Just getting some lights in his face that aren't necessarily that same blue. I don't, maybe that there is a little bit of a transition going on from the stone to his regular face color. Let's see, we should check it out, what type of paint. And his spectrum says the absolute key critical thing here is the less paint. If you use too much paint, you're just not going to be happy, because what'll happen is it's almost like working on a pastel painting where the paper only takes so much, and then your colors just kind of start bouncing off. And that's what can happen with the oils. That's why we're able to get colors here, because we don't have too much paint on the miniature itself. It's always less is more, and more is always way too much. And now the Ray Sunshine, I have too much Gene. Too much Gene. Yeah, let's get some more. That's that faux cadmium yellow there. And we might even throw a little bit of green into that, so it's not all just a yellow snake here. Let's get some more green into that. And by green, it's going to be even barely perceptible, that change from the more yellow color to something more green here. Just trying to get a couple of the scales on this. Now other ones, if we want to get some patterns in on those, we can do that as well. Now this guy, I might go in to my, there is my phthalo blue. We can take a little bit of our cadmium yellow and mix it with that phthalo blue, and now we're going to get ourselves almost like a phthalo green. But now we're going to have a whole different type of green over here. Let's see, okay, I'm back again. Had to assemble a vanity. Yeah, we have to keep that line moving. We're trying to see what we can find here scale-wise on these extra little snakes up here. There will be a few of them that I want to maybe do, like this one here, almost stripe it like it's a garter snake or whatever. And maybe this one has a bit of a lighter chest or something. So something like maybe this. And yeah, that's all just wet oils right there. We'll just make that lighter. And we'll probably go in with our blending brush once that has had a chance to sit there for a little bit. And we can just kind of fade that out, although this brush sheet with a little bit of scumbling, see what just a little bit of scumbling can do right there. Traditionally, I always have at least one snake be a diamondback. Always love my diamondback snakes, Kelvadia. Let's see, Y2 Ace, you can, it'll be probably tough for you to send me a whisper here on, but you could either shoot me a private message on Facebook, or you could hit me on Instagram too, I believe. I'm just Wappelius on Instagram, so that could possibly work too. Now, hopefully it's time-wise, it's nothing that you need immediately, because with all of we're doing so many of these virtual convention things, so hopefully that is not, like say, maybe more like a December-ish timeline or something like that. Hopefully that might work out okay for you. What about... Yeah, I'm going to get just some of this lighter yellow on the underside of them. I don't want to lose the dark on the top. I think that's kind of fun there. And we're going to fade some of that green just a bit. Oh, that's a tongue. Okay. So I wonder what the heck is that thing, and it's actually a tongue. Okay, good to know. Now, when is the next virtual con? That would be ReaperCon, and it's going to be that first week of September. I think it's the 2nd through the 7th. I know it starts on a Wednesday and it goes all the way through to Monday. I know there's folks that are doing the digital classes, or like Zoom meeting classes or something like that. I don't have any kind of specific info on that sort of stuff because, well, that is definitely not my department. Yeah, we'll let this sit here. I don't know if it's all the folks that would be normally at ReaperCon because, well, obviously not. There was a bunch of folks that had to try and buy digital webcams and stuff because, well, they weren't streamers like us. And they kind of had to start from scratch, except instead of a $53 Logitech 920, they had to pay 200 and something dollars for it because, well, they're kind of in short supply now. So again, it's kind of like a garter snake sort of thing here. You know, it's that darker tone. Then we give it that couple of these lighter stripes like this. Just whatever. This is sort of that lemon yellow color now. Maybe this can give us a little separation from the other guy. Can we sneak his little eye in there? I think we just did. Maybe this can be our diamond back here, something like that. I'll just get some lighter shade here. Let's get that light on his head. We'll just get our light diamonds here. And another one here. And we'll go back in with our darker color, of course. And that'll look a lot. Where's our one with the snake on the base? Ah, here it is. So this is one of our Wild West Exodus figures here. Now we could do either that pattern. Let's see, do we have another one that... Yeah, we got another one that's lighter. We can do that on it too. Now let's put you back. We also need to get I take my indigo here, inner light. This has, we need some more shading on this, well, some more lights on this side. Some more mid-tone, some more color over here. Yeah. And something again to make it look a little bit more like stone, as opposed to the colors of her skin. Ooh, there's some couple of highlight or something lighter in here, I think. His cheekbone, the ear, some parts of his hair. Let's get that part of his jaw. Let's hit some more of his hair. We don't want it to look like black hair or something like that. It's got to be stone texture somehow. Terra Rosa, do we have? Yeah, let's not go too crazy with that Terra Rosa there. We already have another snake that has a lot of that color on it. Just get a little more of our something here, and then we'll go with our dark. Sort of like an outline around that. And we'll probably use our synthetic here. Where's our cotton? There we go. So love the, not only is it a quadruple zero, but since it's synthetic, when you gotta hold the brush in sort of a funky way like this and have a weird angle of attack, it's nice to have the synthetics because the bristles aren't just, they're not going to collapse and sort of deform on you the way some of the sables might. To have one aha moment every day with the oils that keeps me going. There's, every time I use these things, there is some new thing that I learn that I just, obviously maybe it happens when you try a different type of miniature too. But every time I use the oils, there is some distinct new thing that I either learn about a color or an approach or something. I mean, it's not like that didn't happen with the acrylics, but with the oils, it happens so much faster and so much more frequently. It's insane. So see, this is, again, the benefits of that synthetic brush. It's not going to, again, if I was using the sable here, it would just kind of deform and sort of collapse on one side, make it really tough to keep doing this pattern. Even with this, see, I'm kind of wrapping it around the miniature here. It really would just not be, wouldn't be easy to do with those sables. Everything kind of has its own purpose. Now I do have some genuine red. We'll use some of the Fanchon red in places where we really want to get something, a nice red snake, because we don't actually have any bright red snakes. We also want to do a coral snake in here. That's kind of another little traditional snake for me to do. Is a little bit of a coral snake. How's about something instead of lighter in there? Let's go darker in the middle of that. With a little Terra Rosa. Oh, thanks, Spectrum. These, it's interesting the way they are sculpted. I guess I'm so used to painting the snakes that I make for bases that I'm just kind of used to painting those. I'm trying to think, when's the last time I painted someone else's sculpted snake? And it might have been the Lizard Man army. And that goes back a long ways. That goes back a really long ways. Now, oh yeah, we don't really have any bright red at all. So let's start playing around with our Fanchon red here. Let's do that. Let's use that. Here, we'll thin that down. That should make a nice little difference here. Oh, yes, it will. Yes, that is. That should bring a little bit of attention to the face as well. I knew there was something I had that fanchon red out there for. Now, the synthetics, what's interesting is that it doesn't get quite as thin and fine with the oils when you're using, say, your thinner and you're thinning it down the way the sables do. The advantage is that it's just going to retain its shape. That is the biggest thing, and not lose that. So like here, you can see it's not, when I press it up against here, it doesn't just kind of flop over. That's what would happen with the sable brush, and it would make that kind of brush stroke virtually impossible to do. Okay, now we've got his, there actually is a little bit of a different texture on his, there is a different texture on his chest here. Okay, that's good to know. Now Ray has to take off. Oh yeah, short Ray, and don't forget to check out the VOD of the crazy creature caster, the brand new demon there, because
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
that was another major exploration into brand new paint colors and all that kind of stuff. But thanks for stopping by as we welcome in Manadork. Thank you so much for the follow. Yeah, let's carry our red over onto this side if we can. I don't necessarily want to lose the darker red on the upper surfaces here.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Thank you for the follow, Retro Next Gen Gaming. Let's place some, because if a color goes somewhere, it must go everywhere. So we're gonna find ourselves a few cheaty places to put this fanchon red. And how's about here? I realize that's supposed to be so-called gold, but nothing like a little bit of that red in there. Again, now it carries that red somewhere else, potentially even here. Yeah, it brings it further down. Now I think I'm also going to, just like we did with the scales here on the skin, why don't we do some of that with these guys? Just kind of fade those, blend those a little bit. I mean, it's what the colors are here for blending. I guess this is, well, I don't want that to look too pink, so let's get a little ochre in there. And a touch of this lighter color onto his chest here. Or at least the underside of this here snake. Don't want to lose out on too much of the darker shadow there. Now what about you? What about this part? Maybe we will do this on his chest here once again. Bring out this linear texture. Gonna make him look that much more like a snake and less like a tube. And we might, like I said, we can always do a little pin line wash in there if we feel the need to do something like that. Well, I've been using the sable brush for a whole bunch of other details here. The sable brushes, they're really good for, especially in here, that sort of stuff. And for things like what we did here, all of the freehandy type stuff like that, where it was more organic and we had a wide open shot at it. We had a real easy access path to that, where when you don't have quite such an easy access path like here, where it's all kind of, it's hard for me to get my hands in there and such, that's where your synthetic is going to be more helpful. Let's see, El Capone had good results using fairly worn sable for a blending brush. It really is. And Cyronide asks, what's a good brand of oil paint to start out with? So not a bad choice here. If you're in the US anyway, or probably Europe, you get a starter set like this. I got this on Amazon 4 years ago for about $26. I think now it's about 28, somewhere in there. You get 10 colors. And I worked with that for a long time, and then I started to just add some more. And I added some more last week. You basically you say, well, you know what? Okay, I think I could really use a dark transparent purple. And then you look for that and you get that. But this way you're not spending a whole bunch of money right off the get-go. Start out small, just get the one little container of the odorless thinner. You get your little starter set like that. You get yourself just a few brushes. Well, actually, you can just use your regular old brushes. You don't need to buy special brushes for the oils or anything like that. The oils are very handy for, it's not just the wet blending, it's also the ability, well, like here. So I did this texture, I painted that on, and I wanted to make it fade into the skin. So I just took another little blending brush like this, just blended it like that. Now you've got bigger critters like something like this, where it just made this. There's no way I'm getting this whole thing painted start to finish in 20 hours without the oils. So there is the speed element too. The oils also are super vibrant. Just by their nature, they are more vibrant. And they are definitely, like that big guy, when you're working on multiple figures, this is not really the way I usually use oil, just working on one figure like this. I'm usually working on dozens of figures at a time. But these are kind of, it's a little bit of a special circumstance, obviously, doing the streaming thing. It's not quite my normal painting situation. Ultimately, in some ways, the oils are a bit of a cheaper thing to use because, well, you can most likely find them at any local art store. I get mine from Dick Blick since I'm here in the US. Miniature paint just tends to be on the more expensive side, and you just run through it way faster. With the oil paints, you use so much less, and it lasts so much longer. And once it dries, let's say you want to go back in with acrylic paints to do something, you can. Because once it's dry, it is nothing more than just paint. That's all it is. It's just paint. I use the same brushes that I use for my acrylic paints, like the exact same ones. Because I use the same, and this is another thing too. This is not terribly expensive. It works, as you can see, for dried acrylics and for oil colors. And it's not expensive. I used to just use rubbing alcohol, but then craziness happened and it's really hard to get rubbing alcohol now. I will get myself some highlights over here. Let's get some lighter stuff going on with the hands. I have to figure, do I want these on? Yeah, we'll just maybe leave the lighter effect going on here in the eyes. I'm looking over here. Maybe we'll give him a lighter chin there. Is this the... okay, it's the one that got the indigo on him. And he needs a lighter colored chest there. I'll just make this, let's lighten up our indigo just a touch. I mean, indigo, that's another color that never really occurred to me until I just happened to see it on the Dick Blick site, and I said, "Oh, that could be an interesting color." And the next thing I knew, it totally replaced Payne's Gray, which was actually a color that I still like it, but the indigo just has more utility. I can use it in more places and do more things with it than the Payne's Gray. But I didn't know that a year ago. Heck, I didn't know that a month ago. I literally got the indigo less than a month ago. And every time you use the oils, you're going to learn something new. You'll find out something new about them. And it's not like I threw my acrylic paints away or anything like that. I still have them here. Now I just, at this point, I kind of stick to my Reaper clear and liner paints. I don't really use much more beyond that. Because there are times where just doing the commission thing, I have to have, there's something that's just got to be out in the mail literally that day or an hour or whatever. So no time for the oils to dry. No big deal. Then I just use my acrylics, get the job done. Immortal is the Indiegogo. That's funny because that's all that was running through my head as I kept saying indigo like 10 times in a row. Let's see, Surinai. Let's see, as for the second part of the question, well, it's going to be with the oil paints. It's going to be a brand name sort of a thing, and there are oils that are higher quality. So Winsor Newton, Holbein, Old Holland, and you really can go by price because, okay, that's just a set of paint. This is normally about $63 full price. I got this at 45% off. It was still, yeah, it was still hefty. This set right here costs $26. The difference is, and especially in stuff like this. So these are both basically fake cadmium yellow lights. This one is about 4 times as good as this one. And the differences in how they act, say, on the brush. There's a difference in how long they're workable. Yeah, and definitely, I was so sad. These guys really were not. I was very disappointed because I was expecting a lot from those, and they did really not deliver whatsoever. Now, there's a few folks that they like them, but I think it might be more for weathering and that sort of thing. They're not painting with them the way we are here. So I was really bummed about those because I thought they were really going to be nice, and those didn't work out so well. They're also going to be very, very much on the expensive side, too. Whereas I guess cheaper is relative, but then again, these are $8 a piece. For 5 of these, I can get everything I need to oil paint for years. So, I mean, all price is relative. Yeah, it's both. Well, now with acrylics, this is just me wiping off the excess paint. But with the oils, it actually literally can hold some paint for me while I'm working on it or working with it. So it's very utilitarian. It's an extra palette. Well, actually, it's a third palette because this is also a palette. That's the great thing about oils, is that your miniature becomes the palette. I know that can be a little bit weird for people to think about when they're first trying it. Let's see. Was that Space Marine green? That's it. There's no Space Marines out here. And there is no Dark Angels green in oils. There's Phthalo green, there's Sap green. There's a couple other different types of really dark greens in oil paints. Yeah, let's get a couple of darker. I'm not going to say outlines, but we're just going to reinforce a couple of shapes here. I was tempted to put the snake sort of texture here on the cheek, but I think that's going to make it hard to, it's not going to translate so well. We are going to take, speaking of some darker green here, I'm going to take some of this. I mean, that is a snake thing there after all. Oh, that was a jar of contrast warp lightning green, I think that was. Yeah, that was warp lightning green. Ironically enough, if you're looking to, oh, what would you say, mentally prepare yourself for oils, just kind of get your head into the oil painting game. Actually, the contrast paints mixed with the lighter opaque paints, well, I do that with Reaper stuff, Reaper opaque paints. That's actually kind of a nice introductory way, a way to kind of introduce yourself to the oil paints. Now here's our, basically our coral snake. Let's get our, there's more of our Fanchon red here, just over on this side. There we go. Let's see, those contrast bottles are expensive, but yeah, you can pick up a Winsor Newton, a William, yep. And well, that's just it. Those, it's like the contrast paints are designed to exhaust themselves in like a week. Although, obviously, with the approach that I was using, I was able to make those last just a wee bit longer than they're supposed to. Like, I'm using some of them still a year later. And some people, they use those for about 5 minutes and then they're gone. Actually, you can watch some of my YouTube videos. I know I've done at least 1 or 2 army painting series for the Patreon page using just the contrast paints. So we're getting some highlights now on our red snake here. Well, that's good, Kelvadia, because you'll recognize this particular. I think we're going to go all the way to chapter 30 here. Yes, we are. That's not what you can do for your oils, but what your oils can do for you. And this is chapter 31 for those who work with dry brushed. Oh, those who work with dry brushed oils, you shall rejoice because, well, you'll be able to keep putting the paint on there layer after layer if you need to. All of this had to be really thin. If it was thick, none of this is going to stay on there. It's just going to quite literally bounce off the surface. Can't stress that enough. I know we say it all the time, but once I started to actually use the word dry brushing, then people, they said, oh, that's okay, that's what you mean. That's how dry that paint has to be. And then all of a sudden, it really, everything opens up for them because now the paint's just not sliding off of there. I'm going to get me just a couple of my indigo darks in here. Couple down there. Thing that has now, I don't want to say dry, but that paint has set enough for me to go back in there. Alright, we've got our... Just going to get some dark on him too. So again, the contrast paints, and you can watch this on YouTube, this whole thing, and she is the same scale as this one, another Artisan Guild figure. This tattoo stuff here, that was actually Leviathan blue. And that's a Shyish purple there, snakebite leather there. I think that was Gorgrunta fur up there. That's a Keelian green over there. But it is mixed with an opaque, lighter color. I'm looking at this. What's going to happen with that? So maybe a warmer green here. I'm going to take some of this faux cadmium yellow. I'm going to put out some more of the permanent green here. 1 second. We don't need a ton of it. We just need a little bit of it here. That's good enough. And yeah, I think that's a nice warm green here. Definitely want to get the underside of his chest, the face. And this is what I mean about this brush. See, if I was using a sable brush there, it would just be all kinds of issues. It would just basically kind of flop over on itself. Instead, here it maintains that point, even at a really weird, awkward angle. Same thing here. Now, those two brush strokes would have been okay with a sable, but these, where we're basically practically going from the side, that's where the sable brush just kind of gets wavy and deforms, and you end up with mischief. Just going to fade that out here. Any brush can be a blending brush. We just used it there. I'm thinking I'll get a little bit more of my faux cadmium yellow into my green and do some highlights here as well. I might need this to be thicker. Sure enough, yep, the thicker paint sticks. It's like magic. These are, it might be a rough approximation. They may not be exactly 72 mil, but I think they're 72. Or at least as close as they could be, shall we say, gotten to 72 mil.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Thank you so much, Code Warrior, for the follow. Hecabus seems to have no sound. If you're willing to get more expensive than a starter set. What oil paint set? That would be the Williamsburg. Well, you could also get something like Old Holland, that sort of thing. Oh, let's see. Oh, thanks Arnost. I appreciate that. And be sure to check out the YouTube channel and some of the other VODs, because all kinds of fun stuff. So this is Williamsburg. Now this is made in, actually it's made in Brooklyn, New York. Apparently, these are expensive, and they're actually really nice. Now also you've got. You have Gamblin. I think what's the other? Schminky, I guess. That's another one in Europe that people seem to be getting, and they seem to really be liking that. What are some of the other ones? Let's see. Blue Ridge, I think, is another brand that's been mentioned. Now, that's a pricey one. That is a pricey one. But how are you doing, 3 Code Warrior? Thanks so much for the follow. Now, you know, I'm going to get this chest on this snake here a little bit lighter. Now, with the oils, I have to say, unlike some of the acrylic stuff, when you do pay more, you tend to get more for your money when you pay more. Is it always the case 100% of the time? Well, I can't guarantee that because I've never tried all the brands. But I've just noticed when you get something that's well, some of these brands have been around for a long time. I mean, a long time. So maybe that's got something to do with it too. Is that they've just been around for a while. They kind of know what they're doing. Let's see. Williamsburg makes that, and yep, Blue Ridge, but they don't have a set. Yeah, now if you're just gonna start with the oils and you don't necessarily have a set, you can't go wrong with some umbers, right? Some raw umber, some burnt umber, some kind of a cad yellow light, or at least a faux cad yellow. You want to have probably a cad red. You probably want a phthalo green, phthalo blue. Let's go with this. Yeah, I would say, as much as I love what Payne's gray, but I would say indigo blue is another really good utilitarian color. Terra Rosa, that is another color that I used to use in art school a long time ago, and something reminded me of it, and I just got it. It was almost as much for nostalgia as anything else, and sure enough, it turned into a favorite color of mine that I absolutely love. Ooh, I get to continue with my red here. That's cool. I was just looking at this one here, wondering what do I do with this, and then I realized, oh, it's part of that red snake. Red snake, blue snake, one snake, two snakes. Now we'll go back to our Fanchon red again. And this is another new color that I got it because I wasn't quite sure. I wanted to test it. And it turns out it's one that I really like. Now, not every color is going to be that way. I can tell you right now. So far, I haven't really found the best purpose for cobalt violet yet. And that's the most expensive paint that I have. And it really hasn't revealed itself as far as what's it going to be good for. What is its ideal use or combination with other things? That just hasn't happened yet. I hope it does at some point, because that was way too freaking expensive to be a color that just like sits there. So I hope at a certain, now I'm thinking it's just a color that needs to be mixed with other stuff. Or it gets glazed over something, maybe over dry oils or something. But on its own, it has not proven to be, well, all that. We'll put it that way. It has not proven to be quite so fantabulous. That's a little disappointing, I gotta say. Mistakes or mistakes. Let's see, draw a mixed paint set is what I've been using, but you get the colors anywhere. Yeah, see, so let's say if you have to choose one or the other, you can get phthalo blue or phthalo green. Like Spectrum says, just get the phthalo blue. You mix a little bit of your cadmium yellow in there, now you got phthalo green. You don't necessarily need the two together. Now the thing is, if you want to make a really intense, cooler green, well, then you'll have to mix the yellow with the blue to make the green, and then white with that green that you made. Whereas phthalo green just kind of cuts the process down. I think at that point, it's almost more of a convenience thing than anything else. And sometimes convenience is important. Wow, that's an interesting kind of olive green that just made. I'm gonna use that. Yeah. And then we'll, well, here's the example. All right, look, we're taking phthalo blue, we're mixing it with our cadmium yellow, and poof, look at what we got. We have a really intense, very bright green. And we'll just let those two kind of wet blend together. Yeah, we'll just let those two go. And now we'll just we'll take some white into this. Now we're going to mix our white into that. Not too much, not too much. Now here I can sort of use the sable because it's kind of a straight-on shot. Actually, even here it's being a little bit of a pain. But yeah, this is, see, the sable is okay here because we're not trying to go at some funky angle. We're basically just kind of painting that straight. It's just a whole bunch of straight lines. But now back in here, not going to want to use the sable back there because, well, that's you use the the thing that makes it easier, something like this, for getting way back there. And you notice I'm doing it here. See, I can kind of go, look at how that tip just kind of stays where I need it to. Now this still has to turn in. Well, thanks again, and hopefully we can do the Adepticon Zoom thing there, and just have a little hobby time. Especially, hopefully we get the young entity interested in the painting side of things too. But thanks for hanging out and keeping me company as always. I just want to get a little something there. These things, I got to figure out what's going to happen with those. I don't really know yet. I'll just throw this on those, and it's starting to give me flashbacks to painting way too many friggin' blood angels. Those stupid blood drops everywhere. As in, like, everywhere. Now this is again another area where I think the synthetic is just going to be more handy. I'm going to take a little bit of my cadmium yellow light here. We'll mix it with the fanchon red so that it gets lighter, and I think we're going to start out with the thicker paint and see if that sticks. If it doesn't, we'll go the other route and we'll thin it down. Perhaps a touch of titanium white in there, but if we do that, we got to get some yellow in there, otherwise it's just going to be pink, and I don't think pink is what we're looking for. That gives me, I do believe, a lighter red. Yeah, there we go. That's it. Now we got kind of a little bit of a gemstone look going on there. Now to spectrum, I need some shorter synthetics because it always the ultra round. The tips are way too long. Oh, the liner brushes, and love me liner brushes. I mean, I love liner brushes, but there are some times where the spotters just kind of do the thing. I'm going to get just a couple little lights there. This probably should also get some more intense. I think we're, kind of looks almost like a little bit of a crown on her head there now. And we're also going to think about some darker yellow in here. Just some darker yellow right there for our sort of faux coral snake. Now we're back into our, that's our burnt umber. Going to try and reinforce some, I don't want to say outlines or anything like that, but ooh, Actually, maybe we'll just give him a little something there on his tongue. We've got this lighter, what is this lighter green that I just had? Over here. Gotta thin it down if I want it to stick anyways. And we'll kind of give him that lighter chest. I wasn't quite sure what we wanted to do here, but again, sometimes things just, they say, you know what, you really need to put this color over here, or nope, get rid of that. Just like the miniature will tell you when the paint is too thick or too thin. Where's that really intense green again? So we're going to take our yellow over here, mix it with that phthalo, and even a little bit of indigo here. So that's kind of a really intense bluish green. Kind of reinforces that line a little bit. Oh, and there's another snake under there that I just kind of noticed. It's like, oh, yeah, okay, maybe we need to do something with that snake there. Not quite sure what we're going to do with that one. What do we have? We have plenty of it. Well, it looks more like it's kind of on the grayish side. We'll just give it some browns here. Maybe lighter on the top. Oh, let's use a little bit of our yellow ochre. Haven't used that in a while. Let's see, Immortal, you're planning to keep the skin tone more of a gray. There's gray in here. There's some greens in there. Now, maybe after it dries, I can always go in there and actually I could glaze some oils in there. I could completely change that around once it is dry. So even when the oil's dry, it's not like you can't do any blending things or anything like that. You can certainly go back and still do some nifty blending stuff. All is not lost when the oils have been dried. I think this is where, yeah, okay, we're going to do something like this. Then we're going to take a little bit of a dark over here. Oh, we got Bill in the house. And Spectrum. We have Bill in and Spectrum out. Well, thanks, Spectrum. You have a good one, too. So how are you doing, Bill? We've been, well, obviously having fun with the oils. But we had some fun with the basing first. So we did this right here. This was with the liquid pigments from Green Stuff World. We just took some of the Reaper paints and just threw some very simple colors in there, then hit them with the liquid pigments, and then on top of that we went back with the Reaper paints and put in some details and that. Now I think, yeah, see, this is another thing where if I tried doing that with the sable brush, would have had a little tough approach there. But here again, I can hold it at a weird angle, and because that brush keeps its shape, I really needed that to keep those eyes. Yeah. Now we're gonna maybe even get a little bit of our scale texture in here. We're going to put some darks in it because that's been there for a little while now.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Let's see. Twikylix. That's that's a fun screen name there. Thank you so much for the follow. It is appreciated. You know, I'm not gonna go. I was thinking of putting the lighter chest on that. I'm not gonna do that. I won't do that. I am going to go a little bit lighter here.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
As we welcome in Cage per second, thank you so much for the follow. So we're going to do a little bit something different with our diamond style pattern here. Oh, thanks, Kilvadia. And thanks, Bill. It is appreciated. And yes, this is Artisan Guild miniature right here. That base that I made, that was part of my basing series on the Patreon page. Actually, it was part of the same tutorial as this one right here. And this base over here, we were using the Green Stuff World texture roller. So there's another big old Artisan Guild figure. And I was using the dwarf texture roller on this. And then we actually played around, and this was hilarious. I played around with some of these. Just are they going to be glowing gemstones, or are they just going to be big chunks of gold? I don't know, but that is what you're seeing, all kind of piled up here and sticking out of the cork here. So again, that's a Green Stuff World texture roller. And we'll be doing this up. I'm sure I'll be doing this as either Patreon video, live stream, something like that. And this was actually the Green Stuff World, these little books that they've got, and actually a potion bottle right there. Now, there are, let's see, where's my other, aha. So this one, and actually this was a live stream here. I think this one's on the YouTube channel now. See all those little bottles there? Those are from Green Stuff World too. So they have sort of, shall we say, beverage bottles, and they have potion bottles. They have a little bit of each. Again, some are beverages and some are more for potions. I'm going to get some more definition in this. And I'm going to paint those as dots because that's going to essentially give me more of a scale-like texture. It's sort of like what we did here. We put the impression of a scale paint that's not sculpted in or anything like that. That we just painted that texture in, like we're doing here. Couple more of our dots, and this is thin paint, as in more liquid, as opposed to the thin paint because we wiped as much of paint out of the brush as we could. Now let's see, Steel, I love how you made every snake different. Painted a Tiamat once. Oh, it's like a Tiamat head. Well, at first I was thinking, well, gee whiz, a bunch of plain old snakes, green snakes would get a little bit boring. And then I was looking around and I said, okay, let's look for some references. And I actually saw a couple of the Medusas. There's even like a classic painting of a Medusa with all different color snakes. And I thought, that's what we got to do. We have to do that. So yeah, doing the old reference search can be very handy. So yeah, that was something that I just had to wait. As much as I wanted to do that and really get in there, I had to wait. Now we're going to go in with some Terra Rosa here. That's going to end up being too pinkish. I don't want it to look like the red, but I need to do the same thing. Basically kind of getting a texture into here. Because it's been long enough. Let me see. Cage per second. As I was once told, I should never touch my figures without plastic gloves on, not to transfer any grease. Well, I'm not, fortunately, because it's on here, or it would be on a base, I'm not touching it with my hands. I would not mind to be able to wear a glove, except, well, first of all, we ran out of them because of all the 3D printing, and I couldn't get any more because of, well, the craziness. And then when I couldn't get them anymore, I realized that wearing the gloves was making the camera go bonkers. It didn't matter whether it was a light glove, a dark glove, or whatever. So if you're wondering why I'm not wearing a glove, I wouldn't mind having a glove on right now. It's just between, well, now it's just the fact that the camera does not like the gloves. It likes it way more with no glove. But what kind of the catalyst for that was I just couldn't get them anymore because, well, for obvious reasons, they were gone. And the few that I had left, I needed for 3D printing. So, yeah, I didn't have any more gloves for painting. If you look at my older videos, and by older, I mean basically from 6 months ago, you'll see that I'm wearing a glove. But unfortunately, then all the gloves went away. There was no more gloves. Ah, look at that. See all those little dots? All of a sudden now we've got some nifty texture on that. Like you say, Cage, the camera likes it raw. It likes it raw. It was kind of nice to have the gloves on. Actually, not so much for touching the miniature, but instead of having to wash this off, I could just go. Oh, the other reason too is that it was so insanely hot here at a certain point. Even in the winter time, when I'm wearing the gloves, my hands will just get super sweaty. Look at this, just a few dots of this lighter color in here. Man, what that does for creating some texture. Look at, there was no texture there. All of a sudden, we got texture. Oh, let's put some on this side now. Yeah, let's do that. Let me see. I feel like a lot of men would say the camera likes it without a glove. As I've seen streamers who have a black surface beneath where they're painting and wear black gloves. And we tried that here. And oh my gosh. This thing was just white. This thing was just white. Now, maybe they're using different lights, or they're just in a different type of a room. Now, one of the things that's different here is that I always have to have. I've got so much stuff around me here. I always have to have more tools around me and stuff. So here, there's just so much stuff around me. There's no room for anything except really small concentrated lights. It's the only thing there's room for. And that really doesn't play nicely with that black, unfortunately. So I think, yeah, oh, maybe we need to think about one last diamond pattern if I can do it. Oh, it would be like a symbol. It would be like a paint symbol. It would just go like right here, and that would be it. That would really, I could only imagine people would say, what in the world is that thing on your thumb? That would be hilarious. And it would just be called the painting symbol. That actually sounds like some kind of a weird name for a YouTube channel. It kind of does. So we're going to get a couple of highlights here. And let's see, what is this supposed to be? Okay, yeah, we want to keep this one more of a darker brown over there. This one, actually, we need to get some blue into that. I mean, by blue, it's just here. Let's take a little bit of indigo here. Nothing fancy. This is, again, where that synthetic brush helps just a wee bit. Now, let's see if we can give him a lighter colored chest. That's going to be interesting getting back there. But look at that. Maintains its shape just enough. I don't want that to get too light because I'm kind of relying on that darker shadow there, or that darker tone to make these these guys stand out a bit. We'll just hit a couple of his chest scales right in there. That's that. Now here, let's get our Cameo into our phthalo blue, not cobalt blue, but phthalo blue. We're making ourselves a really intense yellowish green here. And we'll do some highlights along here too. Just bring out some of the scales, not all of them, just some of them. In some ways, it's a bit like non-metallic metal. That chain of highlights like we do with the non-metallic metals. Let's see, you could just do a glove on your thumb. Actually, it's called a finger cut. Alright, let's get rid of this stupid thing that just popped up here. When you go noir, it really shows the wetness of the paint with your lighting. Let's get some lighter green here, but also green that's got some yellow in it. Yeah. And then maybe even, let's get some of our, let's get some titanium white in there. Ooh, not too much, not too much. See if I can't bring out just a couple of scales. Right here, close to his head. I think that's it. Thanks, gauge per second. Much appreciated. Here, let's get Wappel to try and grab some of these, and he goes, uh-oh. He's out of here.
Hello,
when she's not looking.
little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Oh, thank you so much for the follow, Cheapio. It's appreciated. You know what? I maybe. Let's see what we got going here with this green. Because I'm thinking on the above the eye here, it might be interesting instead of that being just dark. Oh, that's right. There's that snake in the way. I'm going to throw a little bit of that over here too. I want to bring out a couple of the... Oh, there we go. Don Mac is back. And how are you doing, Chipio? Oh, thank you very much. This is from Artisan Guild here. We're having some fun with our oils. Well, now we've been working on all of these snakes. Wasn't quite sure what I'd be able to do with the snakes up there just because of where they were and everything else, but that's been fun. Let's see, been sitting there mesmerized in a couple hours, getting to bed. Oh, well, thanks again, Don Mac, for hanging out. It's always fun to have you there, and hopefully, this kind of stuff, you get some ideas, some really stuff that you can kind of like, I can apply this.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
And it makes the painting a little bit more fun, a little bit easier, more relaxed as we welcome in Play Fair Inc. Thank you so much for the follow. Oh, thanks, Cheapio. I appreciate it. This one right here, I've been saving this one for a while. I mean, this thing was... I was still doing YouTube lives when I was prepping this thing. That's kind of scary. Well, it's not that was years ago. That was just as recently as mid-April. I was still doing YouTube live. The Twitch thing has certainly been a more recent, a wee bit more recent thing for me. Man, it's definitely, there is more, definitely more of a community. Well, there is really no community on YouTube. There's definitely a community on Twitch, which is really neat. Yep, now that I'm back over here, what the hell? Let's start working with some lights again. Maybe even on our purples here. I mean, we got the colors sitting here. Why don't we use them? And we got a little synthetic all set to go. Oh, let me see. And more, you can use a fingering palette instead of a finger glove. Well, actually, I swear someone like those. What are the little plastic rings? Right, you put on your finger, and there's a piece of hard candy on that. I swear I saw somebody quite literally like cut off the piece of hard candy, and they put like a little, and it looked like a palette shape, like the Bob Ross classic palette shape. I swear somebody did something like that. Who knows? Maybe maybe that's a new product that I need to make. I mean, a true thumb palette, like an actual palette shaped thumb palette. Who knows? You might see one of those on my thumb next time. Ring pops. I wasn't sure, if some candies they stay around forever, and then other candies for whatever reason kind of go away. I wasn't sure if those were still around or not. I am going to just give that a little bit of a light there, and maybe even in here. We got a lot of dark in there. Let's get some purple in there, some kind of a color. We really have nothing there. So we got our placed our dark in there. Let's get some of our lighter purple in here now. So we'll put that there. Here's my blending brush. I haven't messed with that brush in a little while. And we will just kind of stipple this. Now for the happy tiny little, they'll be very tiny little trees. But really, we'd only need one of those. And I mean, we're having a good time talking about it. But the more I'm thinking about it, all kidding aside, I'm starting to think that could actually be that could really be handy. And that's no pun intended either. I mean, to actually have something about maybe this big, even. I mean, even if it's just like that big, that's all it would have to be. That could be something I've got to try. Now, it wouldn't necessarily work so well. I mean, it's fine on smaller stuff like this, but I'm fairly certain that is not going to work with this guy. Well, he's just going to eat it right off the palette anyway. Now you know who ate the pop in the first place. It was him.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Thanks for the follow, Hacky84. Yeah, let's build some reflected light in here. Now okay, that gee whiz, we haven't messed with that in a while, and I think we can find ourselves a nice little smooth blending brush to use for the let's use this one here. This one's we're gonna have to really target this well, because there's like a line right here, which is not going to be a line for very long. We just smooth that out. We got another one over here. Gotta make sure there's nothing on that brush. Good, you can see this. And you can see the direction we're moving this. We're moving it away from where the brush, and look at that. Now it's just a totally smooth blend there. No brush stroke anymore. Gotta do that over here too. So just in areas where I'm seeing brush strokes now, because this paint's been on here a little while, it's still wet. I mean, I could wipe every bit of this off. I could take a makeup sponge and just go and wipe this whole darn thing off of here. Not really going to do that because, yeah, that wouldn't be fun. Yeah, zero night. I'd have to. That could be something I've actually got to think about. Now, of course, yeah, I got the. I don't think there's too many of those on Thingiverse to do with a to make with a 3D printer. I'm also not sure if that ring size would actually fit my hand because, well, my fingers are a little bit on the larger size, so I don't know. I guess I could just stick a piece of blister pack on there. That might work. I would just, yeah, I could just use the glue stick and kind of glue stick that on there. You know what? I'm gonna take a little bit of maybe magenta here. See if we can't do any of our little. Now this is again where I think this type of brush is going to be very helpful here. I'll always intend your puns. Let's see, that dude would need like a truck bed of dental floss after a meal. He definitely. Well, I don't know. Maybe he's got a lot of Crest mouthwash with him. So see this, what we're doing right here? Look at that. If I tried doing that with the sable, there's no way. There is no way that's going to work. But because I've got this, see how that doesn't, see how it keeps its shape? The sable brush, what that would do is quite literally just collapse. And that wouldn't be super helpful. Because again, I have to kind of approach it from a really weird angle like this. So we got that on this side, that's on this side. I will throw some lighter highlights here on the. I might need to get some new titanium white out there. But this needs. Yep, it needs some highlights here. And I'm actually just gonna. I'm even gonna use this brush. Every brush can be a blending brush. Oh, we've been at this 5.5 hours. No wonder words are failing. Well, actually, this one here is relatively new. Wait till you see. Let's see. We got some actual one-hair brushes over here. Yeah, this one. Here we go. There's a true one-hair brush for you. And it still actually does work. You know, I can still actually paint with this if I, let's get some liquid into that. So yeah, that's the other neat thing about the oils is that it does actually it'll bring some of your brushes back to life, like miraculously. I'm gonna do a little more with this pattern maybe. Especially now that we've got this nice little synthetic brush working here. I'm going to get a bit more of that swirl pattern in here. Not all that different from our Celtic knotwork. Take some of that off of there. Give myself a little bit of a loop here. Put a little bit of a point on it. See how that just it's fading itself. Let's see, that is not a problem with the oils. And boy, I know I did this as a subject of a video where you see how there's no paint in the ferrule here. Oh my gosh, when I use my acrylics, this is so clogged with paint that I almost have to take a knife and scrape it out of there. Now, one way to steady your hands is, well, this elbow is solidly against the table, that elbow is against the table, and by putting my two hands like this, I got a tripod, basically. I like literally making a tripod out of my arms. Now that only works as well as your table is steady, I guess is the name of the game there. And I'm going to bring out, just like we did with these things there. So say I brought just a part of that. We're going to do the same over here now. We haven't played with this in quite a while. That has been one of the many surprises and unexpected things that the oils have delivered or have discovered about the oils. That notion that they make, well, stuff like this easier, and it's kind of like a shampoo and conditioner for your brushes, or at least conditioner. And all of a sudden your brushes that I was just gonna chuck in the garbage, I thought they were just, all right, this thing is dead. I couldn't get any acrylic paint in it. Look at that. See what that does now? Now up here, I'm thinking I have to go the opposite way. So we're actually going to bring in a blending brush again, and we're just going to kill that. We're going to bring in some lighter colors again. Ooh, what are we going to do? We're going to grab some of our white. We'll mix it with that. And we're going to make this much lighter here. We made another change here again. I said, you know what? I don't want that there. I'm going to put something else there. But look at how much of the existing paint that it picked up. Man, didn't take long. Back in here with our lighter tone. Yep. Yeah, that's so much better. I think I need to do the same thing over on this other side. Now, I don't have any freehand sitting there to kill off. So we'll just go back in here. I knew something was missing over here, and that does the trick. There we go. And I'm even going to see if I can't sneak some of that in here. And this is by no means, we're not talking about straight up white here. This is on the value scale. It's maybe a 2. No, it's maybe a 3. It's not even a 2, much less a 1. That is not terribly light. I mean, even this, geez, that might have been more like a 4 we just added there. It's because of all the dark that we've got around it. We were very efficient in placing our darks. That's another thing that sort of pre-glaze kind of does for you by default, is it already sets you in with some nice darks. You know what? We are going to do some of that same pattern down here, I think. So we'll take some of that. See if we can't put a little bit of that here. Again, give that a little bit of a twirl, a point. And it can be muted. It can definitely be muted. Doesn't have to be super bright. It is down towards the bottom after all. See, it's a little something. Let's put a little something in here too. Why not? We'll give it, once again, another little bit of a curl here. Curl with the point. It's nice and subtle. Look at that. That's all wet oils over wet oils. This is not dry or anything like that. Yet it is most definitely possible. Look at these nice thin lines that we get here. Look at that. Try doing that with acrylics. It's so hard because as you're doing the stroke, and as it gets out to here, it's drying. It's literally just drying on your brush. No wonder it's such a pain. And I know sometimes it sounds like being harsh on the acrylics, but it's so much easier to do. I've been painting with the miniatures for 20 years now, and I just wish it had been this easy all along. I'll tell you that. Look at this. And all of these purples and blues and everything, yeah, just so much easier. Let's work on maybe extending this up this way. Look how subtle that is. Look at that. Just added that in there, no problem. Like just a slightly different shade on the pattern, it gives an illusion that the fabric is iridescent. I was hoping that would happen. I wasn't sure. I thought, well, it'd be really neat if it did that. And it's not always. It's sometimes tough to think about it and make that happen. Here, I'm just looking for, if I can, bit of a mid-tone purple. Oh, I gotta actually get something back in there too. Oh my goodness. I just realized, yeah. There's
Hello,
nothing
little
back
hobbits.
there.
Spark my ganja.
Thank you so much for the follow, Edgar. It is appreciated. So see this again? The oil, that's all wet. That is wet oils. I can sneak this brush right back there and look at how it's blending stuff back there. It would be impossible to get those lighter layers with the acrylics way the heck back there. So this thing also needs, if I can, get some of my little faux cadmium yellow light here. Because this thing still needs, yes. We were skipping out on some of our gold effects over here. We kind of put that paint there and I wanted to leave it there. I didn't realize I left it quite that long. Okay, we need reflected light on this side. Just like we need some reflected light over on this side now. Of these little rings. Oh, like here and there. There. Just pick up a couple of, boy, I'm just looking now at all that texture there. Wow. And this, yeah, gee. Okay, that's cool. There's a lot of texture there now. I'm gonna go back to some kind of almost like an orange color here again. Back to these golds. There is some greens there. I might, for the heck of it, combine that cadmium yellow deep, a little bit of the fanchon red, and make an even more of an orange color here. Ah, there we go. Because the golds can't just be yellow, otherwise you kind of have the imperial fist phenomenon there. That's why we're going to use it over here. Can't just be yellows. I'm going to use it over here. I will need to thin that down to make it stick. Let's see, what are those blue colors on the petrified head? Mostly a lot of indigo in their cage. Indigo mixed with a little bit of the white. So indigo here, you can see a little bit of the white there, and that's especially over here we did that. There's actually a little bit of the phthalo blue up in there, believe it or not. And you know what? I might actually I'm going to think about a little different change here for some of these little highlights on the fingernails here, because if I just keep doing those bluish gray, there's not going to be any kind of a difference there. So yeah, okay, another change. We'll do that over here too. I'm not sure why. Well, mostly because I did all that bluish color into the face here. Here, we'll use some more of that again. That's the indigo, some of the white. And now it's going to separate even more. Yeah, that's better. I don't want to forget about his head over here. And then we'll just let that get blended a little bit. Now I know that's there's a crack that's right here on his cheekbone, so I like to still maybe get a lighter color under there. Is this light enough? Sort of. Yeah. He might actually, I don't know. Let's see if we can glaze actually a little bit of this olive green onto him here. So let's go the other way. Oh, as we have a lady bee in the house. Well, on Mondays when Kathy is doing her D&D thing, that is when I do these North America friendly times. But we never always can be sure when we can do the streaming thing because, well, sometimes just things tend to crop up out of nowhere. These are it's sort of like the Friday evening streams where Kathy is hanging out in the Pyro Club, so that gives me a chance to be doing this. Now let's get some lighter colors here, but hopefully everything is okay with you. Yeah, typically Monday and Friday are going to be those North America friendly times. Well, and I suppose Saturday is too. Now I will take something over like this, yeah. And we'll spread this around here too on the fingers a bit. Gee whiz, I forgot one of the fingers, like her thumb right here. Let me see. I think we've got, let's see, there's I'm the only one talking. Yeah, I would imagine that it is already, let's see, it's 12:44, so maybe it's only about 4:44 in the afternoon.
Little hobbits, spark my ganja.
Thank you so much for the follow, Jay Bateson. I appreciate that. Okay, that's pretty well mixed there. Oh, let's get some of this lighter color on her hand here. Where the heck was I working with that? I think it's over here. Almost reaching that point here where I start losing track of just what little thing I was using on the palette. A little lighter there doing. Oh yeah, somehow I missed one of my little highlights on this. There we go. I think we got the. Oh, let's do some of these toes here again. Now that's gonna be our. It's a raw umber there. No. I'm gonna do green. Yes. Green toes. That makes total sense. Some green toes. let that just do its own little blending in there. And I'll even get a little bit of this in here, just thinking maybe the base is reflecting a little bit of that light onto it, maybe. Well, again, I don't have a clock for Melbourne in front of me. That is on my phone, but my phone is elsewhere in the room. So I can only just take a raw guess, because usually when I'm making my guess, it's at 2:30 in the morning, and I'm a little bit more familiar with what time it is in Melbourne at 2:30. Hopefully at some point they just do away with the daylight savings thing, because when you have the type of hours that I do, daylight saving, that is the bane of your existence. That is no fun at all. See, here's another example. Look at where my hand is on this brush. See, with the sable brush you can't do that, because again it would just sort of collapse at this distance, and some of the stuff that I'm doing here with this brush, it would just literally collapse. I wouldn't be able to get any paint on there. You know what, maybe I'll actually do a little bit of stippling on this. Maybe that also kind of indicates a little bit of a stone texture. Possibly. You know what, let's get just a touch lighter here on the arm there. Maybe here too. Still was so tempted to try and add the blue here. Oh, that's what we'll do. We'll take the phthalo blue. This might be interesting here. And that'll be the highlight. That's going to bring out these lips a little bit more. Not that I necessarily was looking for blue lips on this thing, but I needed something that wasn't just another grayish purple there. And that seems to have done the trick. I've used my quadruple zero. Now it's a messy, ugly brush. Well, these brushes will live fast and potentially die hard. They don't necessarily, they last longer with the oils than with acrylics, but they will eventually, and by eventually I mean not all that long. That's why they're only, well, at least here, they're just a couple bucks a piece. But I'm kind of used to them only lasting so long. That's why when I get these, I just get a bunch of them. And I've been doing the same thing with the sable brushes too. You know what? This actually needs, hate to say it, but it needs some of this on the underside. I was hoping I didn't have to do that, but I'm gonna have to, because I've done it on the other side. And I also need to get some hair in there. Yeah, the brush and stuff, well, that's actually what's made it a lot easier now. Thank goodness that Dick Blick has tons of these, and it's really easy to get them from there, because we would wander from one Michael's to the next, and if we were lucky, we could get 2 brushes between the 2 of us. And unfortunately, we each used basically the same brushes, so it became, who needs that one brush more? Now, every brush is a blending brush. That's what we're doing here. Once again, we're going to use this, put it at its little bit of an angle here. The same angle that a sable just can't really handle. Oh, and I'm seeing that I need to put some gold over there. So let's just do something like that. I think there was so much going on with all the snakes over there that we forgot to do that. Even if it's just a little dot there, that's good enough. Gotta make sure that all these... we have we'll leave the bottom alone on that one. This one, not gonna mess with that one either. Now that the eyes have had a chance to dry for a little while, I'm gonna see if I can't throw some new titanium white out here. Well, actually, when I had the 2D art business, that's where I used to buy 40 or 50 sheets of mat board all at once. And the guy on the truck came along, and I come running out the door because he was about to dump. And by mat board, I mean the box, the mat board was 4 feet by 3 feet. And if he just chucked that box on the sidewalk, that was going to blow up $100 and something worth of mat board. So yeah, I came cruising out of the house there and said, I'll take that right off of the UPS truck. So this is just some straight up white here on this brush so that I can just try and drop this into the eyes. And I'm looking just for one spot there. At first, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with the snakes, and then when I started just looking at references, there was more and more colorful snakes there, and that just seemed to be kind of the way to go. Now, let's see if we can get some separate teeth in here. Look at that. All I did was just some dots there. That's with the straight up titanium white. There we go. And maybe we'll just hit a couple of, yes, a couple of places here right on the top of the cheekbones. Well, geez, even the just a couple of tubes of oil paint and some of those brushes, the next thing I know, I said, whoa, okay, we're going to get rid of some of this stuff in this cart. Which, you know, makes me sad, but it gets expensive in a hurry, and that's with the... And Dick Blick is very much a discount outlet. Now we're adding... This is more of a bluish green here. I want to get just some of that under that eye. Maybe some of it up here too. Let's see, we got that on this. Yeah, let's see what we can do with our green over here, and then maybe even just a little bit of it there. I mean, just a hint of the green right there in the face. Okay. We're gonna get into our yellow here. Kind of a yellowish green again. Just want to separate that jaw there. Then I'm going to put that on her hand over here. Just trying to find a color separation between that head and her hand. I can try and do it with value, but, well, one is gray, the other one is... They're effectively both gray, so we have to figure out how to make those grays just different enough color-wise. Yeah, I could... And finding the leather supply, that can be... Speaking of adventures in art supplies. So we've done the other little texture dots here. Let's do some texture dots with our darker color now. I had to wait for that. I don't want to say it to dry, but it had to be more settled as a color. Now we got this crazy tongue that's sticking out of his mouth here. I'm going to make the eye, just the whole area around that eye, darker, so I can go back in here with a touch of the white and recreate the eye again. There. One over here. And I'm just going to blend all that. Going to hit it with a little bit of phthalo blue here. Okay, that needs... We have plenty of orange, and I'm going to take actually some of my raw umber here, or burnt umber, sorry. There's also some other little details inside these things. Now that I've got some new white out here, it's almost like a couple of concentric circles in here. I'm looking to get a couple of, there we go. Also need to get my highlight on the side of the clothes good enough. Again, like the green there. We have enough green there. We've got to maybe reflect a little bit of this green here onto the underside of this, like where the necklace is here, or whatever that is. That's good. These need more. Let's see, we're almost hitting this from like a side angle here. And actually this, you can see even this brush here has a little bit of a dog ear already on it, but I'm kind of using that right now. That's actually, it's almost like it's an angled brush, like a brush that gets around a corner. I've destroyed brushes and made sculpting tools out of the wood handles. Yes, indeed. I know I've used the wood handles as a mixer. I was just using one today, actually, to try and mix the last dregs of one of my, was it the texture paste jars. I didn't print this one. This was made for me before I was sent the printer. Now I do have, this is the largest thing, well, the largest successful print that I've done so far. And this is also another Artisan Guild figure right here. And this is at 72 mil. This is at 28 mil scale. So yeah, that's the most complex thing. Actually, I've got it to tomorrow. I will be doing some more printing tomorrow, which there's a part of me that's excited, and then there's a part of me that's like, oh man, this could all go sideways. But I do have gloves. I have a lot of the stuff that I didn't have, so I don't have to necessarily be afraid of, uh-oh, if I get a bad print, well, now I'm just done. I have all new resin, so hopefully that also acts a little bit nicer there, having the fresh resin. And I'm just going to make this just darker again. It seemed to not really be so much fun being lighter. I'll just take a little bit of the yellow here, and we'll let that just mix wet into wet. It's really not all that difficult, actually. Well, they were right. You just take the hot water, and those just kind of fall away, and then you're good to go. It's actually way easier than trying to, and I wasn't quite sure if that was going to be the case, but it's actually way easier than dealing like with just a standard resin figure, trying to put it together, dealing with mold lines and all those other nasty things. The glowing eyes, I don't know. I'm going to see what happens. it just kind of, yeah, it's just looking a little bit blank there. Yeah, I like it better with just regular eyes. Yep. Alright, that's good. I mean, maybe the snakes can still have glowing eyes, but she is not going to have glowing eyes anymore. That was an experiment, and just didn't really seem to carry through, and that's okay. This is almost kind of a yellowish green right here. Now, I know there's a few different people have been recommending different types of obviously the printing resin to me. At this point, not having any experience with them, it's all sort of Greek to me. So that's only just going to come with experience and probably lots of failed prints and other such things. Okay, I'm going to try and get over here some highlights. Once again, relying on the stability of that synthetic brush to be able to do this. I think I just have to keep getting lighter highlights up here on this head to get the separation from her hands. Yeah. Alright. Lips there. I think I do need a bit more lights. Yeah, I need to get this lighter over here on this side of her face. There's just a lot of, there's maybe some middle tones. There's nothing lighter over here. Not even any reflected light there. And no reflected light, the face is going to really start to flatten out. Where's my lighter green again? I hope that is light enough. Yeah, almost light enough. Not quite light enough yet. Okay, so better. Got that. We need to actually, we're going to take some of the umber, some of that red. Maybe a touch of a Terra Rosa here. And this thing, for a coral snake, if anything, we just got to shade that darker. That seems to have helped. I see I need to put the eye back on this snake. Somehow that got kind of wiped away. Come on. Good enough. Perhaps I'm just going to throw a couple of, a couple lighter dots here. It does sort of give it that, what's that? Not shiny of the scales, but it just kind of a little bit more of a reflection on those scales, maybe. Not a bad idea. Let's see. I printed a batch of Artisan Guild Gold Maw Lizard Man. That failed miserably. Well, what's interesting is I tried to take her and the throne, and I tried putting it all on the same plate because people said, "Oh yeah, put it all on the same plate." She printed out okay. The throne fell off of there like 3 times. Like fell off. So I think I wasted 5 strainers just trying to print out a couple of things, and I just kind of gave up on it and said, "All right, this is stupid." I'm back here now. I want to see. Aha, that's an area that I need to do either more of this sort of faux snake pattern out, or I need to get some lights on that. One or the other's gotta happen. So here we are trying to get the faux snake pattern, which seems to be working. So we can go with that. All right, we're okay with that then. Do we need to lighten this up a touch more? I just got to put a little bit of a lighter color there. Scumble this into my greens. This is what I mean about less paint. I mean, you saw how little paint we put in there. That was not much paint there. In some ways, this is almost like a dry brush with a tiny brush. I mean, it's literally like a dry brush with a tiny quadruple zero brush. I mean, that you can really end up tossing too much paint down there so quickly.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
So who are we welcoming in? We are welcoming in Trugo. Thank you so much for the follow. It is appreciated. Ah, this is something I should do. This could be fun right there. Little bit of a, yeah, light on top of the, I mean, it's kind of on the pronounced side anyways. Might as well do that. Okay, this will be tricky. That's going to be tricky. I've got the snake scale texture here that I have to somehow be able to make some tiny highlights on here and not make those too pronounced. Think we were okay with that. Let's see if I can't also do something like that on my coral snake. Yeah, that seems to have worked. Well, thank you so much, Trugo. This here's her base if you haven't seen that yet. So we painted this earlier. This was done with the Green Stuff World liquid pigments. They're just an acrylic. And that is your Green Stuff World mosaic tile texture roller. They're a Greek themed basically. And she's gonna stand right over there. That's boom, right there. So actually, yeah, that's color-wise too. I was hoping this is another reason why I put that red on the gemstones and some of the red snakes there, because remember, a color goes somewhere. It must go everywhere. Even if it's on the base, it's got to go on the figure, and kind of vice versa. Oh, thank you very much. We've also had some fun doing the freehand here. And again, this is all just wet oil paints, so it's just wet oils over wet oils, taking advantage of that fact that you can move it around. You can fade a color. You can just kind of place that color, take a blending brush, fade it away a little bit. You know what? That could use a brighter highlight there. Maybe something there too. Those little snakes were definitely, that was some sneaky snakes there. Let's get this a little lighter here. It's on a, maybe a little bit of a blend too. Speaking of blending, there's another brush we're going to use for just a bit of blending here. Do I need? Yes. This is as much about brush strokes as it is about blending the paint. So we're more about blending the brush strokes at this point, because some of these brush strokes have been around here a while. And that's the advantage of, well, working on multiple figures, of course, too. Do we need... down here, yes, I just see a lot of nothingness right here. This is where we were playing around earlier on with the kind of no color thing, but that's all just dark there. That can't be that way. We are going to try and get just some kind of gray, or just something reflected from the base, some kind of reflected light from there. See, even that much. Even that much reflected light is better than none. Some reflected light is better than none. That should probably be in the Book of Wappel too. Well, we're just going to keep hammering away with Book of Wappel stuff, aren't we? We just keep, it doesn't, every video it seems, every live session we seem to make another one. The El Capone, so apparently I also got a crumbly box of Sculpey. Bought it, thought it wasn't too bad. Now it would be, well, there's no way I can show it in a video because the process is a little bit too violent. But all of my gray extra firm Sculpey is on that kind of crumbly side. And actually, yeah, all of this texture was rolled with what started out as kind of a crumbly gray extra firm Sculpey. So it can be done. It's just, you're going to get a workout. You will get a real workout. You will be able to crush, you'll be able to open safes with your bare hands by just ripping them open. Because, yeah, when I'm done mixing that really hard dried Sculpey, because again, it got really hot here, and I couldn't bake any Sculpey for almost a month and a half, and that was enough for the Sculpey. The Sculpey was beautiful, it was fine. Then it got so hot here, I couldn't bake any Sculpey at all. Just these last couple of weeks, we've been really, really, really lucky. And I immediately just started baking Sculpey as fast as I could. Didn't even care necessarily what texture sheet it was. I just started baking it. Now we're just adding in. See, now we're getting some separation, and look at that. Separation in that area there. Actually, Calvadia, that all kidding aside, there are times where I've just kind of either put it out in sunlight or done something. Oh my gosh, in the wintertime here, when it's 10 degrees or 10 below zero, whatever outside, trying to mix Sculpey is brutal. I mean, it's just brutal. I don't put it in the microwave, but I'll actually hit it with a hair dryer just to try and warm that thing up. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can't. This is a little too plain here. It's a little too plain. We're gonna try and get this some kind of a pattern in here. See how that's turning blue because of the indigo blue there? That's hilarious. And I'm going to brush that over a few times just to mute that. Where are we at here? Back to our little bit of indigo. So I need to turn this so I can actually see it here. So much easier to do this with the oils. Alright, yeah, it's a little something down there. That's it. And we're going to do a similar thing over here. Keeping things as simple as possible. Don't mind if it, see how that fades there? Like it literally just disappears. There's just a vague suggestion of a pattern there. We want it to be lighter here. We don't want it to be super bright down here. So we don't mind that their pattern stands up more there instead of down there. So good all the way around. Now we're going to do a little bit of a pattern here because I want to get some separation in this. And I'm going to try and do that via some freehand if I can. Once again, give that some pointy edge. A little bit of a point on that. Maybe this whole thing gets to be a pattern here. So now, as we look at that, look, this is another type of contrast. That is more like a linear type of a contrast there. Oh yeah, that was kind of going back in time because so many people they've seen the old painting pyramid videos, and that was where I kind of developed basically. And you're still seeing the shaded base coat even with the oils. It's just it takes a different form, but it is still basically the shaded base coat. Now we're also going to get some reflected light here. We find ourselves a blending brush. And there you go. So yeah, I try to, like Lady B said, I try to send a video link to the subscribers of the channel here, just as a little bit of a thank you when possible. And I try to make those related in some way to what we're doing here on the channel and some of these little lessons here. Let's see, if you go the baby oil route, use a few drops at a time. Yeah.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Thank you so much for the follow, 7-colored mage. That is appreciated. Oh, yeah, I'll get that a little bit of a highlight there. Now, we have these different things going on. I think we need to, we'll need to do it. Let's just try it here. So we got our sort of a dirty purple right there. Remember, we were thinking about doing this before, and we just kind of abandoned that idea. This is where things get interesting with the freehand. So let's not have quite that much paint on there. This is, it kind of goes the same for banners. So look, so I just put 3 quick little lines there, right? Now, and this again with banners where they're all folded over themselves. So we need to displace our next set of lines. And by displacing, I mean displace. Not that place, displace. And by doing that, so it's like this line, instead of just continuing up and over, it's like, wait a minute, how did it fold quite so perfectly that it all lines up? Here, the fold, it ends here where that fold is, and then it picks up over here and continues this way. So now you got yourself a little different. Again, that's like the cloth has been folded over on itself a little bit. For whatever reason, I just feel like I needed some reflected light there. This is our Terra Rosa once again. I'm going to see if I can't get a little bit of my cadmium yellow light in on these little things on her shoulders here. That's good enough. Do we need to fix up these? We need to blend something here. Ooh, gee, we need to get ourselves a fair highlight on these guys. Right over here. And that's, gee whiz, that's actually supposed to be metal too. Okay, good to know. We'll do a little bit of a blend here too, so that gets some separation with her hand. Let's get her some kind of a light on those knuckles, and then back to our more of an orangey color here. Maybe even more orange there. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, somehow we managed to not paint her arm right here. So we'll just do that right now with whatever color we got. Let's see. Yep. We'll just place it there. That's still our original glaze that's sitting there. Holy smokes. And yet look at that. I can still mix with it. Yeah, all I had to do was just chuck a color in there that was vaguely greenish gray, let it mix with my purple. Bang. Problem solved. Don't have to get crazy about that sort of stuff. Let's see if we can lighten up this a little bit here. And I might just use this as my blending brush to scumble that a little. Okay. Larger blend. Whoops, that's one of our painting brushes. That's not a blending brush. That's more like a blending brush. And bang. Poof. All taken care of. So actually, well, now this is, it's almost 6.5 hours into this. So that has been, I don't know, I think we've been able to get a decent amount done here. We've got our base painted, for sure. Oh, I'm going to do just one last little... Yeah, you know what? One last little pattern right here. And then we'll raid into teals. I think we could raid into teals here, but I just want to do one last, if I may. Here we go.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
That's it. We got Pootie Tang with the follow. Thank you so much. Gandalf appreciates it too. Now this is gonna be another one of those where we got some folds. So see how we're displacing this? Alright, see we here. See how it's almost like a ladder? It's like a little bit of a ladder, and that really does work well for banners. Do it again. And then another. We'll displace this again. It's like a little indication of something here. It doesn't even have to be a complete pattern. Look at how I'm just kind of fading that out. I'm going to take some of this darker purple here. Bang. There. And look at this. It's something I do with acrylic sometimes. Look at that. See, now we've kind of cut off that pattern. And then we'll go back in here with our lighter stuff. Let's make it a little lighter now. And we'll pick up a highlight in a few little spots here. So we got like that stair step going. Here we don't want to necessarily highlight that anymore. This, I am going to let one part of this be lighter. This stuff on the end here. Just so that can stand out some more. Maybe even mix a little bit of that with my purple. Now this one here, I will just lighten the top part of this freehand here. I'm going to leave the rest of that be subdued. But now that whole pattern just kind of carries right down. I was tempted to put some kind of a pattern there, but sometimes, even with the freehand, just like with chipping, just like with mud spatters, all that kind of stuff, sometimes you don't need that much. It can end up just being way too much. Kind of overwhelms everything. Alright, I'm glad we got that highlight over there. I am glad we did that with the eyes. Now, with the skin on her forehead here, gonna try and push some of this around. And if ultimately I don't like that, maybe I just kind of get rid of it. I don't know. Even when it's dry, I can still paint over that, do something different. Wow, oh, so there is an ear over there. Alright, so we'll do something on that ear. I might do one last little highlight here on the lower lip, if it's possible. Yeah, that's helpful. Touch of the blue. Again, I'm trying to get this light, dark light, and also reflected light that is different colors, not just various shades of yellows. Trying to get a little bit of this blue on her hand here. Yep. Let's fade that a bit. Just push it around. That's all it takes with the oils. So, okay, now that it is 6.5 hours, and I still need to actually film a video here, so I'm just going to thank everybody for the bits and the cheers and the follows and all the stuffs. And you can always watch these VODs. And now that I'm just going to make these full-length highlights. Oh yeah, Chrissy Lid, sorry about that. Well, but again, I'm just going to, all of these things from now on, now that I know I can make these one full-length highlight, we're going to do that. It'll also end up on the YouTube channel, but we painted the base. We painted her. So Artisan Guild, Green Stuff World.